Yes! Hello, my beautiful and amazing friends. Welcome back to the stream. We're waiting for the tubes to connect themselves all across the fruited plain of the interwebs. Before we go ahead and get started, because we've got some business to attend to today, we're waiting for the president to come out, in fact. As you can see here, he will be live very soon, speaking to the House GOP retreat in Miami, Florida. And we'll, of course, be covering that live. Jam in room, and he'll be there speaking to a bunch of people. There's been a bunch going on there today. We also saw that the Speaker of the House, Mike Johnson, and other Republicans were also talking to the press today. It's been a week. It's been 1 week since we had the inauguration, and President Trump is rocking and rolling. So we've got updates on that. We also had a big story that we'll get into today, time permitting and the president's schedule permitting, about the CIA now unveiling the truth about what happened here. Of course, we knew that this thing had remnants of a lab origin from the very beginning. Now the New York Times and John Ratcliffe, thanks to him, are reporting that the CIA has taken a new official position. And we'll go through that story because Ratcliffe was out talking with Breitbart and Fox News and was explaining what the CIA is going to look like. And the CIA has been a big problem from our perspective, given their involvement in rigging the last election. So we'll talk about that. I've also got some interesting news on the J6 kerfuffle that we were talking about last week when Judge Amit Mehta came out and said that the Oath Keepers can't come back to Washington because they're bad people, blah, blah, blah. Remember that? And now the judge is having to eat his words because he can't do that. They were commuted. There is no additional penalty the judge can impose upon them. So we'll go through that article, or filing rather, from the Oath Keepers, and then take a look at what the judge came back and said, because he is backing down, saying, "You're right, I can't do that." So he's having to eat his own prior words. And so we got a bunch of good stuff coming up. We've also got Tulsi Gabbard this week, who is going to be sitting for her confirmation hearing, and RFK, and Kash Patel. And so we're going to be here on Wednesday and Thursday to cover it all and see what happens from the very beginning. So I think it's RFK Wednesday, RFK also on Thursday, but I think that might just be for witnesses like we saw with Pam Bondi. And so we'll be here. Kash Patel is probably who we'll be paying most attention to since he runs the FBI on Thursday, but we'll be bouncing back and forth during the breaks to go check out and see what Tulsi is up to as well. And so we've got a bunch of great stuff to get to today, my friends. Before we jump into any of it, let's make sure that we're getting the best news possible from the best sources possible, courtesy of our friends at Ground News. As we know, Trump was victorious in this last election, but the fight is just beginning. Confirmation battles underway. There are already murmurings from within the intelligence community about one of Trump's picks. It's Tulsi and Kash. They don't like them. There are a lot of stories like this one saying that former FBI and CIA officials are both warning against Trump's nominees. The question is, will they get confirmed? And how do you keep track of all the latest? Ground News. Ground News is a revolutionary app and website that gathers news stories from across the political spectrum, showing you the biases, reliability, and ownership of each story. This Tulsi story, for example, is covered by over 36 sources, and Ground News shows you exactly who is reporting what. And as you can see, most of the reporting on this story is from the right, with over half the sources covering it leaning right. Only 22% of the sources that are covering it are leaning left, which is strange because most of the people opposing Trump's nominees are on the left. But that's what's nice about Ground News. It has a blind spot feature, which helps you find stories that are being reported heavily by one side but ignored by the other. And I'm a huge fan of their For You section, a hub that curates the latest stories sorted by the issues that matter most to you. With Ground News, you get the power to sift through and analyze the gobs of information dumped in front of us all the time and access broader perspectives all in one place. And right now, you can save 40% on their Vantage plan, the same plan I use, by visiting ground.news/RG. RGE or just click the link below. Don't miss out on the opportunity to see what the mainstream media isn't showing you, especially during this transition and inauguration season. Check it out. Go to ground.news/RGE and take control of your news. All right, my friends. So that's linked down in the description below. Thanks for checking them out, supporting our sponsors who support our work here. So we're keeping our eyes on what's happening over in Miami, Florida, waiting for the president to emerge. Let's check in on the audio here. Oh, yeah. Beach Boys, I think. So they're rocking out over there, and we'll see what is happening there. I also wanted to jump into, what should we talk about? Can we squeeze in the J6 stuff before the president comes out? Is he going to be late or not? Let's see how far we can get, shall we? The Oath Keepers and the Proud Boys sent one in to a D.C. judge, and the judge is having to eat it because he tried to keep them out of Washington, D.C., but he's not allowed to do that. And they submitted this motion saying, sorry, judge, you're wrong. And he came back out with this order saying, oh, yeah, I know. This is Judge Amit Mehta, and he threw a little hissy fit and tried to ban these people from coming in. And Trump's DOJ responded and said, sorry there, bucko. We have actually commuted these sentences. And you know what that means? No additional penalties can come down their way. And the Oath Keepers and their attorneys submitted this and are explaining the following. They say, hello, you try to ban us from Washington, D.C.? Yeah, ban this. They say, Elmer Stewart Rhodes hereby files this motion. And you know who Stewart Rhodes is. They kept calling him the ringleader, the alleged criminal conspirator who was masterminding the insurrection of America. They asked this question to the judge, Judge Mehta, who gave them an illegal order. They say, does a commutation, particularly one that ends incarceration to, quote, time served, and or a pardon, also terminate the other aspects of the sentencing? Great question. Is supervised release part of the sentencing, or is that separate? Does it continue after a sentence or pardon? They said here, well, in a said motion, the U.S. attorney argued, this is from Trump's DOJ, that the president, in issuing the commutations, intended to reduce any and all aspects of the punishment to time already served, meaning you can't put little chains and limitations on where they can go, because that's an ongoing penalty. Writing that the defendants can no longer face sentencing requirement, and of course that supervised release, if you have to check in with somebody, like a little hall monitor to make sure that you are where you are, that's a condition. So as cited below, both Obama and Trump issued pardons, and that also eliminated the post-sentence supervised relief. They say, it seems hard to believe that these presidents would have taken the trouble to order again and again in individual cases that the pardon in those cases would not change supervised release unless it were specified. Now, probation officers are treating Trump's commutations as if they were the end or the equivalent end of serving a prison term. And they triggered the start of a probation, right? So in other words, they're not ending the the commutations are not ending the sentence. They're just acting like the commutation ended the prison term. And once you get out of prison, you get on probation. And now these J6 defendants, like the Oath Keepers and the Proud Boys, are going to have additional penalties like a probation officer. While the terms of Trump's proclamation emphasized immediate release, now probation officers are imposing a sudden and extensive burden of intake into supervised release, making them sit for interviews and other crap. Well, they say, let's be clear about this. In Trump's first term, he issued a number of pardons and commutations, and some of these dealt with supervised release. These were all apparently identical in language. These were the same things that Obama did, by the way. Obama said, I hereby commute in terms of imprisonment and the sentences, and Trump has done the same. Now, the court determined that because Trump explicitly left supervised release in place, because it was in there specifically, the court found in those cases that supervised release was appropriate. Now here, supervised release is a component of a sentence, right? So you can distinguish this. The president can commute a sentence, but only to a limited degree, and release, like end your prison sentence, but then commute you and you can go out on supervised release is the argument. Here, that's not what happened. When a person is sentenced, a federal judge can choose a menu of possibilities for a sentence, right? You can go to prison, jail, community service, halfway house. You can have supervised release. That can be a penalty. Now, these generally act like a sliding scale. The worse it is, you go to prison. More prison, the more serious the crime. A smaller fine, a higher financial penalty, maybe less jail. You don't have the money. Okay, how about you go to jail? You do less fine. And so now the supervised relief is clearly part of the sentence. When Trump commuted the sentence of all these people and pardoned the rest, this terminates the sentence. The legal system's attempt to impose probation requirements are done in error. Ending the sentence ends the supervised release. All these cases support that view, as you can see. And so in conclusion, the Oath Keeper's right. It is reasonably clear that all aspects of a sentence, including supervised release, are the sentence. When the president commutes the sentence, it includes supervised release, which is what the judge used to keep them out of D.C. And so we certify this is all legitimate, submitted to the judge. Amit Mehta gets the filing for the attorneys from Stewart Rhodes, the so-called alleged leader of the Oath Keepers. So the judge now has to eat it, comes back out and responds in an 8-pager. They write, the judge says, in the fall of 2022 and winter of 2023, 2 juries convicted 9 defendants of various crimes. Stewart Rhodes, Meggs, and others. This is the judge writing, saying each defendant was a member of or affiliated with the Oath Keepers. Now, all but one of them, Caldwell, were found guilty of seditious conspiracy, fake charges, and conspiracy to prevent members of Congress from discharging their duties. Okay. The court sentenced them to various terms, of course, 18 years for Stewart Rhodes, which was an insane sentence. I don't even think he was there that day. All except Caldwell received a period of supervised release after their prison term, right? You go to prison, you come out, you're not just done. You step down, essentially, right? You go from high security into supervised release to the world, and then they'll terminate that supervised release later on. On January 20th, though, Trump commuted the sentences of these 9 defendants, pardoning over 1,000 others convicted of these offenses. According to the proclamation issued by the president, he commuted the sentences to time served, okay? Commuted the sentences, in quote, to time served, which means you've done your penalty. You're done. Defendants then in custody were immediately released, some of them, not all of them. Afterwards, all relevant actors proceeded as if the commutations addressed only the custodial portions of their sentence. So your sentence has been commuted to time served, which means you get out of custody, but they can still throw a bunch of other penalties on you. But they were treating it, though, as though they still had supervised release conditions. U.S. probation offices began supervising the defendants. Defense counsel moved to change the conditions of the release, and Trump's DOJ came in and backhanded the judge legally and deserved it. And we read that. That was a great filing from the new incoming DOJ. They're not playing around, just like Rubio's not playing around, just like Tom Homan's not playing around, just like President Trump's not playing around. Oh, you don't want to accept our plane loads of immigrants that are your people. Okay, great. Rhodes publicly declared that he would report to his probation officer as I've been ordered. But on January 24th, the court issued an amending order. And this is the judge himself, right? The judge is like, I did this, to add 2 location restrictions. The judge ordered the Oath Keepers and the Proud Boys, I believe in another, or maybe another judge did that, to stay away from the District of Columbia and the U.S. Capitol without permission from the court. Now, the court did not impose the location restrictions when sentencing the defendants because at the time, it wasn't practice for us to make these conditions of release. That practice later changed to add in prohibitions when other judges began to sentence them to stay out of D.C. Now, soon after Trump issued the proclamation and consulted with the probation office, the court issued the order. Hours later, though, right, the court issues this order. You're banned from Washington, D.C. Trump's DOJ came back out and said, what? Through the acting U.S. attorney, they moved to vacate the order and to dismiss the supervised release. They said, you can't do this. The motion from the new DOJ said they're no longer subject to the terms of release. Their sentence has been commuted. And you know what sentence means. It means it's broadly construed to include everything. The in custody portion of the sentence and the remainder. Thus, when Trump commuted the sentences, his action rendered their terms of supervised release no longer active. Now, the motion, the judge writes, concludes not with a request for relief, but with, quote, an indication that the order must be vacated. Remember, we read that. We're like, oh, damn, son. He said that to the judge. Like, dismiss this right now. Or else. And, of course, didn't ask with a request for any relief. Judge is like, oh, man, I just got told. Article 2 of the Constitution, says the judge, vest in the president the power to grant pardons, which Trump did. Their powers are broad. The Constitution places few limitations on this. So long as the president doesn't violate another provision of the Constitution, Congress and the judiciary have no power to interfere, right? And this question comes up a lot. Is there anything we can do about Fauci or Cheney? Not really. You can see they can't do anything about it. While a pardon generally negates the effects of an underlying conviction, a commutation might be different. The effect of a commutation was illustrated in another case, writes this judge. There, the defendant received a mandatory life sentence following his third conviction for drugs. Obama commuted his sentence to 30 years, but he nevertheless pursued a habeas petition saying, I'm wrongfully detained, arguing that one of his underlying convictions was not actually a drug trafficking offense. So, it's kind of like the three strikes law, thanks to Joe Biden, the godfather of the modern crime era. You've got drug addicts, right? Who just like literally addicted. They can't help it. And like 30 years. Anyways, the district court dismissed the habeas petition as moot, but the Sixth Circuit found otherwise. It ruled that notwithstanding the commutation, the judicial power remained to reduce the underlying sentence. As the court put it, Dennis will now serve 30 years and so on. So Obama came out, commuted it, says, applying the foregoing principles here, the commutation does not alter the judgments, right? It only affects their execution. Okay, we know that. Thanks, Judge. The question remains whether they must carry out the executive branch, the judicially imposed periods of supervision. So now we have to ask about the pardon. Now, the court has found no decision from the D.C. Circuit addressing how the courts should interpret clemency from the president. The 11th Circuit has thought about it. The Supreme Court has mused about it and ruled in other cases about it. But here's what that court finds. Amit Mehta says, the DOJ's reading of the proclamation of addressing both the in-custody sentence and the supervised release is reasonable, says the judge. Yeah, because you got called out on it. It's reasonable now. That's not what you tried to do last week. The proclamation states that Trump commutes the sentences to time served. Obviously, a sentence is a set of sanctions. All sanctions imposed for a crime have been commuted. The court must presume that the president understood the meaning of this, and the DOJ's understanding that the proclamation also goes to the supervised release component is also thus reasonable. Thanks, Judge. Now, the department's reading is further supported by the fact that Trump's commutation order is unconditional. There's nothing else they need to do to receive its benefit. Presidents have been explicit when they intend to commute only the custodial portion of the sentence, but leave in the supervised release portion of the term. Trump did so in his first term when he commuted Alice Marie Johnson. So did Biden and Obama. Biden did too recently too. So the unconditional quality of Trump's proclamation can be read to extinguish the enforcement of supervised release. And so if there is no supervised release, they cannot keep them and ban them out of D.C., which was always a whiny, pathetic attempt by the judges to just throw a hissy fit and make their voices heard, make their displeasure heard. And it's a good indicator that this judge never should have been presiding over these cases at all. He just reversed himself. And he had to reverse himself because like somebody sat him down and was like, you're acting like a psycho, man. You got to calm down. You're supposed to be a neutral judge. You can't on your own just impose new conditions on the Oath Keepers because you're mad about it. it's right. You can apply this to your job, right? Like imagine if you lost your friggin' mind and did something and your boss had to come talk to you, right? And you're like, oh, wow, I should have never done that. Something that is so egregious that you probably should be fired from it, but this judge can't be fired. Now, it is not for this court to divine why Trump commuted the sentence or whether it's sensible to do so, right? Basically, this is his implicit, I disagree with the J6ers getting pardoned. We know. The court's sole task is to determine the act's effect. Insofar as the DOJ seeks to dismiss their supervised release terms, the request is denied because they're not going to dismiss it. The court did not alter the original sentence or the president with the pardon, but the court will vacate myself, says the judge. I'm going to vacate myself. That lasted 3 days over the weekend. Okay. He issued an order January 24th. You're banned from my city. Then he vacated it because it would be improper for the court post-commutation to modify the original sentences. You're right about that, Judge. It would be improper for you to do it, and you did it. Thank you for agreeing with us. Further, by virtue of the president's commutation order, the court acknowledges that its conditions of supervision will not be enforced because you can't. Accordingly, the DOJ's motion is denied and granted in part. Like, we're not going to dismiss this, okay, so you guys don't win that part. But they're no longer bound by it, all right? So they're no longer imposed upon them. Signed by Amit Mehta, D.C. District Judge, who had to reverse himself in 3 days. And in doing this, revealed exactly who he is and why he is totally unqualified to be presiding over any J6 cases, or really any cases. He's got terrible judgment. He can't even reserve himself from issuing a ranting screed type of order. You're banned from my city. Get off my lawn. No judgment at all. And he just reversed himself. That's how bad it was. So that is a fun update over there. Now, I was keeping my eye on the Trump event. And here, let's see what they're partying to right now. They're all standing. We're like, is he coming in any minute? Here's what it looks like. Yeah, okay, so it's good stuff going on over there. You can see they're partying hard. We're going to keep our eye on that one. And then we'll check in and see what the Speaker of the House had to say just mere minutes ago, hours ago. They were out not too long ago, and they had this to say. We'll fast forward. We'll get to Speaker Johnson, and we'll hear what he says.
We had Louisiana's annual Washington Mardi Gras celebration right on the heels. So 4 more days of that. My poor wife was drugged to, I think, 9 balls in a week. And we're still recovering. But we're glad to be here and really, really grateful that the new golden age of America has begun. It is an exciting time in the country. You've all felt it. Those of you who came from Washington, you know that something has changed. The atmosphere has changed in Washington, and we're feeling that around the country. I came down to Florida a day early and was meeting with friends of the party and donors and folks in South Florida, and they feel it here, as Mario said, just as we do all around the country. Something has changed because there's a new sheriff in town. And we're excited because we have unified government. We have President Trump back in the White House. The meetings began, the work began the day after inauguration. I was summoned there early in the morning on Tuesday and met Vice President J.D. Vance there and Leader John Thune in the Senate, my counterpart, and we went to work immediately, went to the Oval Office and sat with the President for hours, brought in our leadership teams who worked so hard to achieve this moment that we have now, unifying government to fix the country, and all that work has begun in earnest. We did leave it all on the field. This leadership team and all the House Republicans worked so hard to ensure that we kept our majority in the House. We believed that we would get the majority in the Senate, and we did, and we believed we would return President Trump back to the White House, and it happened. But we did, we all traveled endlessly, worked endlessly. I personally did over 350 campaign events in 250 cities in 40 states and logged enough miles to circle the globe 5.5 times. I keep saying that because I can't believe it myself, but that's what was necessary. And we got the job done. And so now we have to deliver on this agenda. Everything has changed. You've seen that the president accomplished more in his first week in office than Joe Biden did for the American people in 4 years.
It's true. It's
and
wild.
Everyone's talking about it. The Democratic Party is in disarray. They have no obvious leader. They have no obvious vision or agenda. Their platform has to be rewritten whole cloth. and they don't exactly know how they're going to wander in this wilderness for the next couple of years. It's not just going to be a couple of years though. It's going to be 4 years at least, and then more, because we are going to grow the House majority in 2026. Historically, when the president takes the Oval Office, then his party then loses, on average, a number of seats in the House in that first midterm. But that won't happen this time around because there's been a sea change. And we're going to deliver on this agenda, and that begins now. And so we're here for 3 days here at Doral International, President Trump's beautiful club here. I hope you all enjoy the time. We're going to be working the whole time. We won't get to enjoy much of it, but that's by design. We'll be in these long sessions with the House Republicans working through the agenda. You all heard me talk about the proverbial playbook that we developed over the last year leading up to this moment that we knew would happen, and now we're working out the final sequence of the plays. And so some big decisions will be made here in the next few days, and we'll align with the Senate and our colleagues there, and we will move forward on that agenda. The reconciliation process, the appropriations that we have to wrap up, and the other issues that are upon us. So all the Republicans are rolling their sleeves up. There is a lot of work being done. There has been a lot of work done behind the scenes up to lead us to this point, and we are really excited to deliver for the American people, and we will. Lots happening. The most recently, I'm sure there'll be a question or two about Colombia, the last events of the last 24, 36 hours. I think that was a signal. When the president engaged with the president,
not really a lot of questions on that. It was pretty much solved in about 37 minutes. They figured it out. Trump was golfing. He's like, hang on a second. I got to post something right here. Colombia, what? Oh, okay, hang on 1 second. Blah, 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 blah. Ban from this. IEEA, you're done. Sanctions over here. Tariffs going here. Blah, blah, blah. Boom, send it. All right, hey, give me my driver here. I'm going to knock this one in. It was amazing.
Colombia, about the situation there, Colombia did an about face, and they decided they would indeed cooperate and take back their citizens who came here illegally. Violent criminals from other nations will be the first to be deported, and countries must participate. And as soon as Colombia pushed back against the White House, I went immediately to social media. I was here in Florida meeting with donors and party officials, and stepped out of that meeting and said, the Congress will back up the White House, and we will move as necessary on any country. This was a message to Colombia and anyone else. You have to participate. You have to take back the illegals who came here that come from your country. And if not, then we will act and we will engage with sanctions or any other measures that are appropriate to back up the president's agenda.
Nice.
That's what the American people demand and deserve. We are going to secure that border. We have. We are going to make America safe and secure again, and the Congress will have no daylight between us and the White House on that issue. So every nation around the world needs to hear us loud and clearly. This is not a game. We're going to take care of the American people, and that America First agenda begins there. So we'll take a few questions. And
thank you, Mike.
Manu, front row. Sorry, go ahead.
One of the big things you're going to deal with is aid for California. The president said on Friday that he would insist on voter ID as a condition for aid to California. Is that going to be a red line for you? Would you insist on voter ID in exchange for aid to California?
Yeah, we've got to work out the details of that. I have not spoken to the president about that issue since he said that. He'll be here tonight, of course, for dinner with us, and that's one of the topics of discussion. Listen, there are a lot of issues going on in California, and we have been lamenting the lack of voter security there for some time, election security. We were deeply concerned about it in this last election cycle, and we saw 3 of our seats frankly slip away from us in the weeks that it took to continue counting ballots in California when seemingly every other state and nation in America can get it done. It's inexcusable. Gavin Newsom provides, I think, such a lack of leadership there in so many ways, and it was highlighted by the disaster with the fires. It's so heartbreaking that California citizens are suffering because of the lack of state and local leadership.
All right, Mike, thank you for that explanation. Let's go see what you have to say, Mike, again. All right, Mike, good to see you earlier. Let's hear from you right now.
Thank you all so much. We have been waiting a while, and you've been very patient, and it will be well worth it. My friends, I want to welcome you to Doral International, Trump's fantastic property, and
thanks,
the
Mike.
New golden age of America. Yeah. America's back, my friends. That's right. Yeah. America really is.
What the heck? Fox News? We don't want to see your desktop. Let's see, what do they have on here? Oh, man, Fox News. All right, let's see what's on their desktop. Skype, VLC, Skype. You guys got to clean this up, all right? Look, Zoom Workplace, iNews old. All right. We got to find...
Our allies and our friends
They're
are
back.
encouraged again, and our adversaries are nervous. They're on notice. They see what's happening because something has changed. There's a new sheriff in town, and American strength is back, and we have been so excited for that. The country has been waiting upon it, and the reason for that is because our new president is back in the White House, the 47th president of the United States. He doesn't need a long introduction, and I won't give you one, but I would just say this. The first week in office was the most momentous of any that anyone can remember, probably of any administration.
It was great.
And he's already accomplished more for the American people than his predecessor did in all 4 years. There's more of that to come. That's right. And as House Republicans and Republicans in the Senate and the House join together, we are going to bring forward the America First agenda. We will be a part of this new renaissance in America, the new golden age, and it begins right now. My friends, my colleagues, ladies and gentlemen.
We're swapping over to this feed.
47th President of the United States, Donald J. Trump.
Let's go. All right, so Trump's coming out, and we'll let him make the entrance and let the music play out back there. Nice intro there from Mike Johnson. We're picking up, this is the White House feed exactly, so we got a nice clean feed and not a bunch of garbage on the screen. So President shaking hands, Majority Leader Steve Scalise, Mike Johnson taking the mic. Looking great. All right, he's going to let the song play. Look at this tie, man. Looking sharp on the tie. Little, mostly red with a tiny little sliver of blue in there, right? We'll kind of, it's like a token little homage to the Democrats. Country's mostly red, but we'll kind of, we'll tolerate just a little stripe for unity, there. So he's looking good. Song's continuing to play, talking with Mike, and it sounds like a good crowd. And it's a great song, and I want to hear it, but we'll get nuked on YouTube. So we'll just let this continue to play out as the crowd gets warmed up. We got a couple of comments that came in. What's up, Lowell Skinner? Just became a new YouTube member. Good to see you, Lowell. We, of course, had a great members-only stream this morning where we were talking about Trump obliterating the president of Colombia in 37 minutes. Took no time at all. He took it, he handled that right in between his holes in the golf course. Incredible. What's up? Roger Needham is here. Can you get a pardon for treason? Yeah, I think you can. I think we looked that up with Garrett Ziegler. Pardon for treason, but not for impeachment. So you can't pardon somebody for that, which I think makes some sense logically with the Constitution. Although impeachment isn't really a criminal penalty, right? But that's the one thing that you can't pardon pursuant to the Constitution the last time that we read it. All right, here's the president.
Thank you very much, everybody. I want to thank you all and congratulate you. I mean, this is a very big congratulations to our re-elected House Republican majority on your largest popular vote. Did you know that since 1928? That's a long time, Mike, right? That's a long time.
That's great.
But I especially want to thank our outstanding leadership team. Speaker Mike Johnson, we all know so well. He's doing great. Majority Leader Steve Scalise, who's gone through so much, and he looks better today than he did 10 years ago. I don't know what's going on.
What's up, Steve?
Thank you very much, Steve. You look great. Majority Whip Tom Emmer. Tom, thank you. Great job. And House Conference Chair Lisa McClain. Lisa, thank you very much. Appreciate it. Great job. Thanks as well to all of the incredible House members and staff for your tireless work on behalf of our country, along with Congressional Institute CEO Kelly Strickland. Thank you very much. Thank you. Kelly, thank you very much. So we have Kellyanne Conway. Nobody knows Kellyanne. Does anybody know? Where's Kellyanne?
Yeah, we
She's
do.
around. Watch. She's so good. She's a good person, too. She's a good person, too. And the mayor of Hialeah, I love this guy because he said, sir, we want to name a major boulevard after you. And he did it. Anybody that names a boulevard after me, I like him a lot. Esteban Bovo and Hialeah, mayor of Hialeah, thank you, wherever you may be. Esteban, where are you? Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you. Great honor, actually. A lot of people come back from Hialeah. They say, they just named a road after you. I said, that's okay. It's a beginning, right? It's a start. With the help of everyone in this room, we've just won the most epic, consequential political victory in American history, according to a lot. One of the major fake newspapers, so in this case it's not fake news, let's say, but they said it's the most consequential election victory in the last 129 years. I'm trying to figure out what that means, 120. Who was there 129 years ago? But it was a great one. At the presidential level, we won the popular vote for the first time of any Republican in decades.
Heck yeah.
We swept all 7 swing states, Pennsylvania, Wisconsin, Michigan, Georgia, North Carolina, Arizona, and Nevada by very, very big margins, record-setting. And for the first time ever, all 50 states, did you know this? Shifted toward the Republican Party. We've never had that before. Nobody has, actually. It's never happened before.
Even California.
You must be doing a good job, fellas. We won the largest number of African-American voters in Republican history, including 39% of black men, a record by a lot. So that's really nice.
Heck yeah.
And we won more Hispanic-American votes than any Republican ever. It's never won any, not even close. Look at that, Hispanic-American. We made historic strides with youth, men, women, urban, suburban, and rural voters. And in a political earthquake, yeah, sit down, just enjoy it. What the hell, we're going to be here for a little while. But in a political earthquake, we won a wave of support from labor unions, including massive numbers of auto workers, which gave us Michigan as an example. Think of that, we won Michigan easily, and we did tremendous with the auto workers. And an overwhelming majority of the rank and file membership of the Teamsters. The Teamsters were great. They showed up in droves, and we won them by a lot. Together, we're forging a new political majority that's shattering and replacing Franklin Roosevelt's New Deal coalition, which dominated American politics for over 100 years. That's what we're doing. And what Mike said before, common sense. It is a little bit of common sense. Maybe it's a lot of common sense. Under our leadership, the Republican Party has become the proud voice of hardworking American citizens of every race, religion, color, and creed. We become the party of the American dream and wealth creation for everyone, not just the rich. If we do our job over the next 21 months, not only will House Republicans be reelected and expand our majority in 2026, we will cement a national governing coalition that will preserve American freedom for generations to come. There has never been anything like what's happened in politics in the last few years. Never been anything like it. Everybody, people of religion, everybody seems to be with us. I don't know how anybody could even vote for the other side. In many cases, they don't, but they do get credit for it. You'll have to think about that. I've raised a lot of money for the next race that I assume I can't use for myself, but I'm not 100% sure because I don't know. I think I'm not allowed to run again. I'm not sure. Am I allowed to run again, Mike? I better not get you involved in that argument. No, we raised a lot of money,
New York Times
a tremendous amount, and our teletown halls are something that's very special that nobody else is able to even contemplate using. We've gotten a lot of people elected with those teletown halls. We have 25,000, 30,000 people on just in a congressional area, and they win easy. It works for Elvis, the Beatles, and it doesn't work for anyone else, but it works for Trump. And we would have tremendous crowds on those calls, and I think I'll bet we got 35, 40 people elected because of the town halls. But I did say to them, and I said, this is the person that sort of has the rights to it, and he happens to be a great Republican. I said, this is the greatest invention. This thing is going to make a fortune. He said, no, it's not that good, actually, because it only works for you. He said, actually, sir, it only works for you because somebody else they're not picking up. So I'm honored to have that privilege, and I used it carefully, but we've done a lot of the teletown halls for people, and I don't think we've ever lost one, right? It's hard to lose one, even if you only get 5,000 or 6,000 people on a congressional race, but we've done them for states, we've done them for governors, and we've done them for senators, and we did a couple countrywide. I did a couple for myself countrywide. They're absolutely amazing, and we got the message out through that and lots of other means. We even got it out through TikTok.
I was just going to say, TikTok.
I have a little bias toward TikTok right now, I have to tell you. So we won youth by the largest margin, no Republican. You know, we generally don't win youth. We won by 36 points. Can you imagine that? And I think TikTok had something to do. So pardon me if I'm a little bit, I became a little bit jaded toward TikTok, but we'll see what happens. We're going to have a lot of people bidding on it. And if we can save all that voice and all the jobs, and China won't be involved. You don't want China involved, but we'll see what happens. We'll see what happens.
Make a deal. The art of the deal,
But
baby.
over the past 7 days, my administration has been moving with urgency and historic speed to reverse every single disaster of the Biden administration. By the way, the guy was a disaster.
Totally.
Okay? You know, we want to be nice. And he's probably not listening right now because
No.
it's a little late. But, you know, I don't want him to listen. I don't want to say it. I feel badly. I was, you know, making the inauguration speech, and I'm saying all the bad things. And he's sitting like right here. You know, I'm saying they were a horrible administration. They didn't know what they were doing. They were grossly incompetent. I got a guy sitting right next to me. It's not that easy to do, even though he didn't understand what I was saying. He really did. And deliver on the mandate that we've been given by the American people. In a single week, I've taken over 350 executive actions. We've signed 300, and who ever heard of that one?
350? Man, that's a good number.
And as I said in my inaugural address, the American decline is over. It's over.
Yes, good.
The golden age of America has officially begun, and I think that's a good thing for us to talk about, the golden age and the American dream. I think it's a good thing because people haven't been talking that way for a long period of time. On day one, I directed every member of my cabinet to marshal all powers at their disposal to defeat inflation and bring down the cost of daily life, and we're going to do that. You're going to see it starting to happen when we get going with the energy. The energy is going to, you know, brought everything up, and it's going to bring everything down. I imposed a federal hiring freeze, a federal regulation freeze, a foreign aid freeze. A foreign aid freeze, isn't that nice?
Huge.
We get tired of giving massive amounts of money to countries that hate us, don't we?
Yes, we do.
I created the new Department of Government Efficiency, and I think it's going to be very meaningful.
Doge in the house.
I terminated the ridiculous and incredibly wasteful Green New Scam, one of the great scams in history. Actually, isn't it 12 years up? They gave us 12 years to live, right? I think
We're all dead
we
now,
passed
yeah.
it, right?
We're all dead.
We're still around.
Yeah,
Can you believe
drowning,
it?
actually.
You know, the person that really came up with it is a person that never even took a course on the environment. Was a poor student, not a good student, didn't understand a lot, and she came up with this idea, and everybody all of a sudden started going. And then mainstream, you know, important Democrat leaders were starting, you know, they got sucked into it. And we've spent trillions of dollars on just like throwing it out the window. You could throw it out the window, you would have been better off. I withdrew from the one-sided Paris Climate Accord, and I canceled. It was so one-sided, you know. We had obligations, but Russia didn't, China didn't, other countries didn't. We paid everything. We're going to lose $1 trillion over a short period of time on that. And we had to do everything. They didn't have to do anything. It was ridiculous. And I canceled the insane and very costly electric vehicle mandate.
Good.
So you can buy a car of your choice. If you like gasoline, go have it. And if you like hybrids are doing well. You can have it, or you can buy an electric car. We like everything, but you have to have a right to buy everything. I withdrew from the World Health Organization, where we paid $500 million a year, and China paid just $39 million a year, despite a much larger population. How about that?
We're out.
So we're paying $500 million a year. China's paying $39 million a year. They have 1.4 billion people. We have, nobody knows what we have. So many people came across the border. Nobody has any idea. I used to say like 325, but we really don't know. But we're going to know soon. We're going to know. And I tell you, our people are doing Tom Holman and his staff are doing an incredible job getting the bad ones out. I declared a national energy emergency to unlock the liquid gold that's right under our feet, because we will drill, baby, drill. We're going to drill, baby, drill. It's going to bring down prices, and your energy costs are going to go way down, and that'll happen, I think, relatively quickly. I'm going to give fast environmental approval for anybody building a plant for electric generation, and anybody that invests more than $1 billion will get super rapid approval. Not that they have to wait for 9 years, 14 years, like I approved LNG plants in Louisiana. They were waiting for so many years. It wasn't Louisiana's fault. It was some people, they just wouldn't get them done. You've got a snail here, a tiny tree here, and I got it done in a matter of a few days. I actually got it done. It took them 14 years. I got it done in about 3 days. The people, as we called them, I'll never forget, I called them and I said, congratulations, you got your permit. What? They were so shell-shocked. They didn't know what the hell was happening. They're going to spend, and they spent about $16 billion on each plant, and they've been roaring since then. But we got them done in a matter of a few days. Over the past week, we've begun the largest deregulation campaign in history, far exceeding even the record-setting efforts in my first term. That was record-setting deregulation, and that was just as big as tax cuts as far as business and jobs were concerned, I'll tell you. I actually asked, it's interesting because I actually asked some of the biggest businessmen in the country, I said, let me ask you, have you had the choice between the big tax cuts? We cut it from 40% to 21%. We're going to cut it further, but we cut it down to 20. Everybody said that would be impossible. The people on the stage helped us with that one a lot. But I said, if you had your choice of that or the big deregulation cuts, what would you take? These are the guys that run the big companies.
Interesting
the
question.
Oil companies, the big companies of every kind. I said, would you take the big tax cut or the big cut in regulations? And I've never had anybody said they'll take the tax cut. They took the regulation
Wild.
cut. I'll bet I asked that question 100 times to 100 of the biggest people. They always said, sir, we'll take the regulation cut. You opened us up. You let us create all these jobs that we've all seen happen.
Amazing.
So it was even bigger than the big tax cut. I also signed an order to end the weaponization of our government against the American people and investigate all abuses of power.
Good.
And I stopped government censorship once and for all, and we brought back free speech to America. That's what happened. We're going to bring it back. Because we didn't have free speech. We didn't have free speech.
No, we didn't.
I mean, I was investigated more than any human being in history. Alphonse Capone was a baby. Now, this was a serious killer, Scarface. You've all heard of Scarface. He had a scar for a reason. He didn't play games, but he was Scarface. Of course, nobody ever called him Scarface to his face. They said, Al, you look great today. Guy had a scar that was like 2 inches thick that ran from here to here. And they say, Al, you look fantastic. But Scarface was not investigated as much as your president was investigated. And it turned out to be a positive thing for me. Can you believe it? It turned out to be, we got a lot of votes. I think we got a lot of votes because they saw it was weaponization.
Yep.
It was a fight against a political opponent. I ordered the end to all of the lawless diversity, equity, and inclusion nonsense policies across the government and all across the private sector and the military. We got it. We're getting it out, and we've gotten it out pretty much. We did that in 1 week, and it wasn't that easy, but everybody wanted it. People that were strongly in favor of it, I thought, called me and said, thank God you got rid of that. That was so bad. It was so bad we hated it. We abolished 60 years of prejudice and hatred with the signing of one order, all approved by the Supreme Court of the United States. It was a big thing, and the United States has become a meritocracy again. We are a country that's based now on merit for success, merit. If you're good at what you do, you're going to go places. I made it and who would have thought that was going to happen? We didn't even talk about that one because I figured that one was going to be toughest to get. And so we are now, if you do a meritorious job, if you do something where you're just outstanding, you advance. And that's what it's about. It's about competition, and it's about a lot of things. And the other becomes a very dangerous plateau. We were on that plateau too long, and it's one of the reasons that you saw very bad things happening with our country. I made it the official policy of the United States government that there are only two genders, male and female. Gee, that was a tough one.
Not complicated.
That was a tough one. Some of these people say like 7 genders. I'm trying to say, go and name them.
Oh, it's like 50, I
Got
think.
some weird stuff going on. No.
You seen those
two
drop-down
genders.
boxes?
I renamed the Gulf of Mexico the Gulf of America, and we are restoring the name of a great president, William McKinley, to Mount McKinley in Alaska.
Beautiful.
In honor of the incredible people of the state of Ohio who loved their governor and loved the man that became president. He was the big tariff sheriff, they used to call him, and made a lot of money. Our country became very rich, and when he was assassinated, Teddy Roosevelt became president, and he spent all of that money that was made from tariffs. The money was so enormous, and they built the thing called the Panama Canal. You might have read about this lately. It's become a hot subject because China essentially has taken it over, and we're not going to let that happen. We're not going to let that happen. It was the biggest investment to this day ever made by the country. In other words, if you bring it up to modern day numbers, we spent money that we've never spent anything so much. We've never had so many people die. 38,000 people died building the Panama Canal 110 years ago. And they gave it away for $1. It's also one of the most profitable things ever built. You know, these ships are lined up back to Florida trying to get through. We're not gonna let that happen. Wasn't the deal. We didn't give it to China. We gave it to Panama, sort of, I guess. But they haven't behaved properly. Perhaps most importantly, I declared a national emergency to stop the invasion of our southern border. We're going to stop that invasion. We've already done it. And today in Tijuana, you probably saw, I got a call from Tom Homan and some of the people. They said, sir, it's unbelievable. There is nobody. You have this huge area. It's a gathering area. It's always been packed with these people. What they did to our country is so unbelievable. That they could do this to our country is so horrible. But he said there's nobody there. And then they actually put it on television. I got to see it. And there was literally not one person, this vast area where people stay there all day long, and they just walk right into our country.
Weird how that works.
Unchecked.
Incentives.
No way. No checking for IDs like voter ID. They don't want voter ID because they want to cheat. They wanted these people to come in because they want to cheat too. But who could allow this to happen? But there wasn't one person standing in this massive an area that's like 5 football fields that was packed for years under these horrible people that wanted to kill our country. We halted all illegal entry. We have successfully ended catch and release, and we're deporting 100% of all new trespassers apprehended at the border, and nobody's coming in, and nobody's coming now because they know they're not going to be able to come in. So we've really stopped something that was very, very serious. But we have to get the bad ones out. We have many murderers, many very bad people in our country that they've allowed because of a ridiculous, actually stupid, open border policy. I've also deployed troops to the border, and for the first time in history, we're locating and loading illegal aliens into military aircraft and flying them back to the places from which they came. And very importantly, America is respected again.
That's right.
We're respected again. Isn't that nice? You know, after years of laughing at us like we're stupid people. And as you saw yesterday, we've made it clear to every country that they will be taking back our people that we're sending out, the criminals, the illegal aliens coming from their countries. We're taking them back, and they're going to take them back fast. And if they don't, they'll pay a very high economic price, and we're going to immediately install massive tariffs. It'll be placed on them and other sanctions, but the tariffs, I told you, most beautiful word in the dictionary. I also told you that I said that the first time, and I got just absolutely decimated by the fake news, you know. I said it's the most beautiful word, and the fake news said, what about religion? What about God? What about love? So now I say it's the 4th most favorite word in the dictionary. It's God, love, it's all these other things, but I say number 4, but God, love, religion, tariff, 4th.
Yeah.
Another couple of weeks, it'll be like 10. Hopefully it's going to stay in the top 10, but the fake news went after me, Tom, because I didn't say the first 3. And now now that I say it, immediately say it, I'm sure they're going to find some others.
What about
Throughout the week,
Melania?
the heroes of ICE have been hunting down and arresting hundreds of illegal alien criminals per day, including those with charges and convictions for rape, child sexual assault, terrorism, and even murder. Many murders and in the crowd, and many of these murderers have committed far more than one murder. This is not going to work out, and we're going to get them the hell out of here.
Yep,
And members of the savage Venezuelan prison gang known as Tren de Agua and MS-13, including 50 violent individuals who were rounded up in Aurora, Colorado, which the Venezuelan gang took over. The governor, who's a radical left governor, was petrified. He didn't know what to do. He said, no, it's not that bad. They've only taken over a couple of apartment houses. See, they went into the real estate business. They did it unconventionally. They did it with guns. We have to go out and borrow or use cash to buy. They just did it with guns. They took over. He said, no, it's not that bad. They only took over a couple of buildings.
Just a few.
We're tracking down the illegal alien criminals. We're detaining them, and we are throwing them the hell out of our country. We have no apologies, and we're moving forward very fast. They're very dangerous people. They're very dangerous people. They're violent people. I used to say these are more violent than our criminals. In fact, the best part about them is they make our criminals look quite nice, actually, by comparison. They are very violent people. We also have many violent criminals in our country, however, that did not necessarily come here illegally, but have been arrested 30 times, 35 times, 41, 42 times in a couple of cases, 25 times, 18 times. Many for murder and other heinous charges, such as pushing people into subways. As the train's coming along at 45 miles an hour, boom, you get pushed into the subway. They had it last week.
Sick.
Hitting them in the head with baseball bats while they're not looking, punching old ladies in the face, knocking them unconscious and stealing their purse. They even break into apartments and rape elderly women and beat up elderly men, beat them to hell. And I don't want these violent repeat offenders in our country any more than I want illegal aliens from other countries who misbehave.
That's right.
And I say, and this is subject to getting it approved, but if they've been arrested many, many times, they're repeat offenders by many numbers, I want them out of our country. I also will be seeking permission to do so. We're going to get approval, hopefully, to get them the hell out of our country along with others. Let them be brought to a foreign land and maintained by others for a very small fee, as opposed to be maintained in our jails for massive amounts of money, including the private prison companies that charge us a fortune. Now, let them be brought out of our country and let them live there for a while. Let's see how they like it.
He's going to
You'll see
outsource our
crime
prison
all over
population?
the country dry up.
Where are they
Essentially,
going?
that's what Venezuela and other countries are doing. They're getting rid of their criminals and putting them into the United States of America.
Deport them to Colombia,
And
I
their
guess.
crime is down by almost 80%. We're going to restore law and order in America, and we want to bring back the death penalty for these horrible people that kill people. They kill people. It's always a tough thing to say because I don't like it. Nobody likes it. But if you don't do it, we're just looking for trouble. I spent a lot of time with President Xi, and I'll never forget in my first meeting, I said, do you have a drug problem? No, we have no drug problem. Why is that? A quick trial. What is quick trial? Quick trial is we try the person that sells the drugs immediately, and at the end of the day, we execute that person if that person is guilty. We have no drug problem whatsoever.
China has mobile execution vans.
That's the most severe case, but
Not sure we want that exactly.
wherever you have no drug problem, you have the death penalty. So, and drugs causes a lot of the crime. A lot of the crime in our country is caused by drugs. It's a terrible situation. Comes through the southern border. Most of it is fentanyl coming in from China. And you know, it's very interesting. China, when I was with President Xi, I had a deal worked out with him that they were going to give their maximum punishment, which is the death penalty, to anybody making fentanyl and sending it into the United States. Then we had a very unusual result in an election. We had a rigged election. We had a very unusual result, and that went nowhere. It was all set to be, he would have absolutely done it. He was ready. We shook hands on it, and then Biden, of course, didn't follow it up. He didn't follow anything up. But if that would have happened, you would have had a lot less fentanyl deaths, I can tell you. You would have had very little fentanyl coming into the southern border. Last week, I also signed an order that will designate the cartels as foreign terrorist organizations. That's a very big designation.
That is big.
And as we are fighting hard to get birthright citizenship or automatic citizenship for the children of illegal aliens, that's another way. It's automatic citizenship for children of illegal aliens. That's the other term that they use, which is actually more accurate, more understandable. And it's ridiculous. We're the only country that has it, and certainly the only country that has it to that extent. And it wasn't meant, if you look, it was really meant for children of slaves. This is when it happened. The children of slaves, it was not meant for everyone to come into our country by airplane or charging across the borders from all over the world and think they're going to become citizens. It's not meant for that. It wasn't meant for that.
No, birth
and
tourism.
hopefully at some point the courts will understand that without having to go through a whole big deal. This was meant for the children of slaves, and look at the timing of it and you'll see, and I hope judges will understand that. And it has to stop, because it's really hurting our country very badly. In the coming weeks, I'm looking forward to working with Congress on a reconciliation bill that financially takes care of our plans to totally and permanently restore the sovereign borders of the United States once and for all. This should include full funding for a record increase in border security personnel and retention bonuses for ICE and Border Patrol. These people are incredible people. I got to know them so well. I was on the phone with them all the time when I was president. When she was the border czar, she never called them. Remember? We went like 4 years and they started asking her, did you ever speak to him? But no. We asked the Border Patrol, did you ever speak to the head of the Border Patrol? Did you ever speak to the vice president who was your border czar? No, I never got to speak to her. This was a terrible thing that was going on. This was a con job. We also need a massive increase in the number of detention beds and funding for all border security infrastructure and barriers, including the completion of the border wall. We did 500 miles of wall, and that's one of the reasons we had the lowest number. You remember the famous chart that I looked to my right, bring down the chart, and I looked to my right, something went right by he. But that chart, I don't know if they have it now, frankly, I didn't tell them to bring it, but they're very competent people, they might. If you have the chart, put it up. If you don't, that's okay too. But that chart showed that we had the lowest number of illegals coming into our country in history. And I love the chart. Even if it didn't show that, I would have loved that chart, because that chart, I wouldn't be here right now without that particular chart. But it was pretty amazing. It was really amazing. And we did a great job. We had the lowest, the week I left office, we had the lowest number of illegal immigrants coming into our country that we ever had. Simultaneously, we must make a record investment in interior enforcement, including deportation flights and aircraft, as well as funding for our new task force to eradicate the presence of foreign gangs. We have some of the worst foreign gangs. It's not even believable. And criminal networks that have brought devastating crime to American soil. We're getting them all out. We're getting them all out. I won on that, you know. It's like some people explain it very well. They say, gee whiz, you know, they look at the people. As you know, in Colombia, they agreed with us almost immediately.
37 minutes.
And Marco Rubio and I worked together. He did a great job. And we really did. And Mike Waltz, we have a great group of people. But we were being scolded because we had them in shackles in an airplane. And he said, this is no way to treat people. Now you got to understand, these are murderers, drug lords, gang members, just the toughest people you've ever met or seen. How would you like to be the pilot of a plane? You got 2 pilots up there and you got 300 people sitting in a plane. Every one of them either a murderer, a drug lord, a kingpin of some kind, the head of the mob, or a gang member, and you're flying that plane. It's not going to end well. Do you ever see the movie Con Air?
Yeah, Nicolas Cage,
That's
great
what,
film.
yeah, except here's the difference. The people in Con Air were actors. They weren't nearly as tough as these guys.
Yeah, great film.
I would say that plane would be gone before it ever left. Those pilots would be gone before it ever left. So they don't want us to shackle them. I don't want to be in that plane. I want to thank every Republican House member for voting to pass the Lake and Riley Act, the first enforcement only
Nicely
bill
done.
that's been passed in 3 decades. I met the parents of Lakin, and they were incredible people. They were just so devastated. I mean, can't even explain to you. You can't say somebody's life is over, but essentially their life is so different, and it can never be the same. She was beautiful. She was great, great person. But to have a bill of such importance named after her is a great tribute. But what these parents, and you know, you have so many of them, where they've lost a loved one to crime, but to this new form of crime, criminal, illegal aliens, it's massive. The numbers are massive, and you add that to the crime we already had. This shows the potential for additional enforcement bills that will help us crack down on criminal aliens and totally restore the rule of law in our country. I'm also eager to get to work with Congress on the largest package of tax cuts and reforms in American history. We've got to get that done. And we don't want to get hung up on the budget process. We just want, whether it's one bill, two bills, I don't care. Let these guys, they're going to work it out. They're going to work it out one way or the other. But the bottom line, the end result is going to be the same. We want to have all of those benefits. And we want to keep people's taxes low and actually make them lower. And that's not just rich people. That's everybody. It's, frankly, proportionately the lower scale, much more so than a higher scale. Not only must we permanently extend the Trump tax cuts, you know, if we don't, you're going to have about a 60% tax increase. But I also intend to keep my promises, starting with no tax on tips, no tax on Social Security, and no tax on overtime. We're
Just
working
get rid of
very
the
hard to
IRS.
get them done. And
All
we
of it.
are, I went to Nevada just this last couple of days. Started off in North Carolina because I didn't want to forget the people of North Carolina were treated so badly by FEMA. And they came to me, they said, "Sir, you're going to California tomorrow." I said, "Well, what about North Carolina?" "Well, we'll do that another time." And I said, "No, we won't. I'm stopping in North Carolina first." And we stopped there. We met great people. Franklin Graham has done a fantastic job. He's done a great job, but others also. And I met people that were devastated. The Democrat Party with FEMA, their FEMA did absolutely nothing. And we have that worked out. Your congressmen are helping very much there. Your three Congress people are working very hard on that whole thing, along with Michael Watley. And Laura wants to be involved too. Laura Trump, she's doing great jobs. She's done a great. Michael and Laura have been unbelievable as the head of the RNC. They've been unbelievable.
We won.
Unbelievable. You know why I picked Michael? I said, who ran North Carolina? Tell me, because in the 2016 election, we did so well, and then in 2020, we did great in North Carolina. But others, we watched, wah, ping, wah, ping. What the hell's going on? But with North Carolina, and when he had 600 lawyers, 601 lawyers working for him, and they didn't play games in North Carolina, I said, that's the guy I want to run it. And Michael Watley has done an unbelievable job, and he worked with Laura so well. She comes from that state, from North Carolina. They've done such an incredible job. So thank you very much. I want to just thank you in front of leadership. Incredible. And I really don't want to give him another job, to be honest. That's the most important job. He said, "Sir, I'll go anywhere." I said, "I don't want you to go anywhere. I want you to stay where you are. We'll give you plenty of money to get the job done, right? But we don't want to lose it." I mean, he's really he could do anything actually, but he's a very talented person. There's nothing more important because we have to win in 2 years or we have to win in 4 years. There's nobody better to head it up. So thank you very much, Michael, and really stand up. We're just an incredible.
Stand up,
team.
Michael.
Really amazing. I wanted to save that for leadership because I say it all the time. People don't know what the hell I'm talking about, but leadership knows what I'm talking about, and it's really incredible. The two of you as a team are unbelievable. Our administration will also be working to implement the Make It in America plan that I outlined very successfully in my campaign. You know, I think my campaign, I really focused on the border more than anything else. A lot of people said the biggest thing was inflation and the economy, and then maybe the border was third. I always felt the border was first.
It's related.
I felt that people could really understand that you can't have people pouring in from the prisons all over the world and from mental institutions all over the world and dumped into our country. So I talked about that much more so than I did inflation. I mean, inflation was terrible. It was the worst. I think it was the worst in the history of our country. But you can only talk about it so long. You know, the price of apples doubled, the price of bacon is quadrupled, everything is a disaster. And you say it, and then what do you do? With this, I could give examples of what they're doing to destroy our country, and I felt it was the strongest thing. You know, it's funny, in 2016, I won on the border. In 2020, we did so well, I couldn't talk about the border. My people would say, sir, don't bring up the border. Nobody wants to hear it. I said, no, I did a great job. It was a horrible border in 2016, but that border was beautiful compared to what we have now. So I didn't talk about it, and we did great. I mean, look, I got millions of more votes in 2020 than I got in 2016. Yeah. And nobody ever got the most votes of any Republican in history in 2020. But this time I said, let's make it too big to rig. We're going to make it too big to rig, and that's what happened, and they couldn't. They tried, these cheating guys,
They tried
cheating people, but
throw
they
you
tried,
off the
but
ballot.
they gave up. I brought taxes down from 40% to 21%, which everybody said was impossible, and I did it with these people up here and a lot of the people there. A great congressman. I want to name every one of them, but I'd be naming them all night. I'm looking at them. Look at all these people. They're great. They're so great, Russell and you, and every single Virginia. Look at Virginia. She's a killer. Nobody would know she's a killer. But I got all these congressmen. I want to name every one of them, but I got like 100 and something things that people would say, let's get the hell out of here. This is getting very boring, right?
No, go ahead, do it.
But I will tell you, as a group and individually, they're incredible people. Every one of them I like, although every once in a while, if somebody votes against me, I don't like him for a little while. But we like every one of them. And this guy has the ability to get along with everybody, which he has to when you have a majority of really 5. You know, they say 1, but it will be. But right now it's 1. I want to make him sound a little bit. But he has an ability to get along with people, and he's very smart, very tough. But everyone likes him because he's a high-quality person, very religious person, and he's a high-quality person. You know, we have other guys here, and I know that everybody likes them, but they're like, one of them in particular, I love this guy so much. I won't name him because I don't want to embarrass him, but I don't know if he'd be happy or not happy, but he's very, very strong, very, very popular, but he has 36 people that won't vote for him. It's 36. That's not a lot. That's a small percentage. Tom is incredible, but Tom has a couple of people that probably have been beaten badly and beaten up. You beat up some people badly, and it's a little tougher. But he's done an unbelievable job. I've become friendly with him. I didn't really know him.
The infighting of the Republicans.
And over the last year or so, I've become friendly. He's incredible. He's an incredible leader.
You won't vote for him.
But you have a couple of people that maybe, more than one, let me put it that way. They all love him. Your wife loves you, that I can tell you. He's got a great, where are you? Where are you? Stand up, please. Just stand up. Come on. What a great wife and family. It's true. Thank you. She is a great, look at her.
Shout out to the wives.
She's very popular, isn't she? Huh? She's great, more than you. You're very popular. And now I'm bringing them down. I'm bringing the taxes down from 21 to 15%, but only if they make their product in America. So if they make their product in America, we're bringing it down. So if you think about it, we took it down from 40 to 15%. But again, you keep 21, but you go down to 15 if you make your product here. We are going to have so many business moving back into our country.
That's great.
And remember, again, the word tariff. We're going to protect our people and our businesses, and we're going to protect our country with tariffs. And you got a little indication of that yesterday with what happened with a very strong country. Colombia is traditionally a very, very strong-willed country. If they don't make their product in America, then very simply they should have to pay a tariff, which will bring in trillions of dollars into our treasury from countries that never paid us 10 cents. We're not going to let that happen. We're not going to let them destroy our country. In the words of President McKinley, who is the tariff king, the protective system invokes the highest law of nature, that a self-preservation, and that is self-preservation. There is every reason founded in justice why the American producer should in every way be favored against a foreign producer whose products compete with his. This is our natural market. We have made it. We have made it an enormous cost, capital, and exertion. And think of this. And we did that through exertion and brain and muscle and guts and stamina. We preserved it against foreign wars and domestic conflicts at great sacrifice of men and women. The foreign producer has contributed nothing to the growth or development of this country. So if you want to share with the citizens of the United States our home market, then you must pay for the privilege of doing it. In other words, you have to pay for the privilege of coming into our country, taking our jobs, taking our product, destroying our countries. We mentioned North Carolina, the furniture business, what they've done to these great artisans. I used to go down to North Carolina all the time to buy furniture for hotels that I was building, and they had the most incredible artisans. That whole thing was wiped out by China mostly, but others, and just wiped out. But it's going to come back. It's going to come roaring back. It's all going to come roaring back. We're going to put tariffs on outside countries and outside people that really mean us harm. They want to, well, they mean us harm, but they basically want to make their country good. Look at what others do. China's a tremendous tariff maker, and India and Brazil and so many countries. And so we're not going to let that happen any longer, because we're going to put America first. Always put America first. That's what's going to happen.
About time.
We're going to establish a very fair system where money is going to come into our coffers, and America is going to be very rich again, and it's going to happen very quickly. It's time for the United States to return to the system that made us richer and more powerful than ever before. Do you know the United States in 1870 to 1913, all tariffs, and that was the richest period in the history of the United States, relatively speaking. In other words, relatively. And they set up the Great Tariff Commission of 1887, and this commission had one function: what to do with all the money that we took in. It was so enormous that they had no idea. It was a blue ribbon committee. It was set up 1887, and what to do with all of the money that we had. And again, Teddy Roosevelt was a beneficiary, because when McKinley was killed, he took over this vast sum of money, and he did all of those national parks and all of the other things. And I'm not knocking him, but he was given a vast amount of money, and that was all made through tariffs. We had no income tax. The income tax came in 1913. As I said in my speech last week, instead of taxing our citizens to enrich foreign nations, we should be tariffing and taxing foreign nations to enrich our citizens. Does that make sense, right? Under the American First economic model, as tariffs on other countries go up, taxes on American workers and businesses will come down, and massive numbers of jobs and factories will come home. The job creation will be enormous. In particular, if you look at the automobile sector, I mean, we're just being wiped out. You just take a look at what's happened to that over the years. And the auto workers voted for me. I have an obligation to do what's right, and I'm going to do that. Do you know in Mexico they were going to build the largest auto plant anywhere in the world? And it was during the campaign, my most recent campaign. And a very great gentleman, all he does is he builds auto plants. He was building this factory. And I said, how's it going? I said, I want to go around and take a look at one of your factories that you're building. One of the big ones, one of the good ones. I said, okay, are you ready? When are you going to do it? This is 9 months ago. He said, you'll have to go to Mexico. I said, what about the United States? He said, we're putting up a couple, but they're small. He's the biggest guy at doing this. He said, in Mexico, they're building massive automobile factories. I said, you mean they're doing it? And who's the owner of the factories? He said, mostly China. One in particular is massive, and it's built fairly close to the border. So they were going to build cars and send them into the United States for no tax or very little tax, and destroy Detroit, just destroy the rest of it, what's left of it. Because they've already Mexico's taken 32% of our business over 30 years. And the other one is Canada. Canada's taken massive amounts of, they send us millions of cars. We don't need them for that. We want to have the cars made in Detroit or South Carolina or many other locations, whether it's union or not union. But I said to him, so when is this plant going to open? He said, well, we're going to start it in a couple of months, and it'll be open in about a year and a half. It's the largest plant in the world. I said, I'm not happy with that. And I said, in my next speech that I am going to charge them, if it takes 100% or 200%, no car is coming in from Mexico into the United States without a massive tariff. And I said it 3 or 4 times.
Good.
And
Thank you, Mr. President. Thank
what
you for
happened
that.
is about 2 months later, I see that same gentleman who was in the audience, and I said, I want to see him backstage after I'm finished with the speech. And I met him backstage. I said, John, let me ask you, what happened with that plant? Where is it now? He said, sir, China's canceled it. Why? Because they think you're going to be elected, and they thought you were going to charge big tariffs on the cars coming in, and it doesn't work if you're going to charge. So they canceled the plant.
Thank you, Mr.
And
President.
Detroit now will breathe, and we're going to do just the opposite. We're going to have these companies come in, and they can build that plant if they want, but they have to build it across the line. They have to build it in the
Thank you,
United
Mr.
States.
President. My goodness.
Amazing. Amazing. We did so many things.
Just a speech.
We weren't even elected yet. That
Just
would
a
have been a
speech.
disaster. If that plant were built, it would have been a disaster. That would have wiped out. That was bigger than most of the factories put together, the auto plants put together. In particular, in the very near future, we're going to be placing tariffs on foreign production of computer chips, semiconductors, and pharmaceuticals to return production of these essential goods to the United States of
Happening in
America.
Arizona right now.
They
Taiwan
left us
semis.
and they went to Taiwan, which is about 98% of the chip business, by the way. And we want them to come back. And we don't want to give them billions of dollars like this ridiculous program that Biden has. Give everybody billions of dollars. They already have billions of dollars. They've got nothing but money, Joe. They didn't need money. They needed an incentive. And the incentive is going to be they're not going to want to pay a 25, 50, or even 100% tax. They're going to build their factory with their own money. We don't have to give them money. They're going to come in because it's good for them to come in. They're giving them money. They don't even know what they're going to do with it. I had people tell me, we have no idea. We didn't need money. They don't know if they're probably going to use the money to build in other places, other countries. It's a ridiculous plan, very expensive and ridiculous. The only way you'll get out of this is to build your plant. If you want to stop paying the taxes or the tariffs, you have to build your plant right here in America. That's what's going to happen at record levels. We're going to have more plants built in the next short period of time than anybody ever envisioned before, because the incentive is going to be there, because they have no tariff whatsoever. In fact, they have help from us if they build their plant in America. And we're going to look at pharmaceuticals, drugs. We're going to look at chips, semiconductors, and we're going to look at steel and some other industries. And you're going to see things happening. If I didn't put on the massive steel tariffs, you wouldn't have one steel plant right now in the United States. If I didn't put on the tariffs on washing machines, dryers, and the like, you wouldn't, in Ohio, you would have lost all of those companies that made washing machines and dryers. Jim Jordan is the one that got me started. Was Jim here by any chance? Is Jim here? Where is Jim? Where's Jim? Oh, look at him. Wow. That's not a great seat for a man of such power. Do you know that Jim has he's a great wrestler.
Yeah, he is.
He was All-American wrestler 3 times, 128 and 1. That's not a bad record, and that's the way he fights, too. But he has a better record. Undefeated as a wrestler in high school. And I say, how can you do that? Because a freshman can't beat a senior. But he figured out how to beat seniors. So I stand up
Pretty
again,
good.
Jim. Let's give you a hand as a wrestler. As a wrestler, big hand. As a politician, very good. But Jim, is it true that we went up there, remember we had 25,000 people standing in the streets in this little beautiful town with Whirlpool, right? And they were going to close up their factories because South Korea was dumping washing machines and other things like that, and they were dumping. And we put a 50% tariff, and it's 75, even 100%, and now they're thriving, right? Without Trump, they would have been closed up. But Jim was
Crazy.
the one that got me involved. Are you guys all happy with Jim? Do you like him? Because I like him. I like him, right? We like Jim. What's not to
Judiciary-
like?
Judiciary Committee Chairman.
He gets on television. He's like a wrestler. He's got this boom, 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 boom. Very impressive, Jim. Anyway, it's good to see you. I like that guy a lot.
Shout out
I
to
like
Jim
a lot
Jordan.
of the people in the audience a lot. I like the people in this room. We have the same basic philosophy. We have the same thoughts. What's not to like? But I'll also be placing tariffs on steel, aluminum, and copper, and things that we need for our military. We have to bring production back to our country. You know, there was a time when we made 1 ship a day, and now we can't build a ship. We don't know what the hell we're doing. It's all gone to other locations and other lands. And to further return production to the United States, we're going to environmentally free up our rare earth minerals. We have some unbelievable sites. We have some of the best rare earth anywhere in the world, but we're not allowed to use it because the environmentalists got there first. They said, you cannot touch that land. I look at the land, it looks like every other piece of land. What is it? Well, this is very protected.
Smelt fish.
They have no idea what they're doing to our country. They use the environment to stop progress, so we're not going to let that happen. We have Lee Zeldin. I don't know if Lee's here today, but Lee Zeldin is going to be fantastic. He's going to head up the whole environmental. And I said, Lee, if we have we put in for a power plant, and if we don't get the approval, like that you can start within 12 days, one day would be even better, but 12 days, 14 days, see what you can do. And Lee's great. Lee knows what's good and he knows what's bad, and he'll be very fair, but we have to get it moving because some of these jobs, like the ones in Louisiana, they were 14, 15 years, they couldn't get their approvals. We can't let that happen. When people come here with massive amounts of money, they want to start, they want to go, and we know what's good and we know what's bad too. And Lee Zeldin's going to do a great job environmentally. As we fix our tax system, we could also cut colossal amounts of government waste, fraud, and abuse, of which there's a lot. But tonight, I restate my pledge from the campaign. I will not sign any bill that cuts even a single penny from Medicare or Social Security for our great seniors. We don't have to do that. We don't have to do that. We'll not touch those benefits in any way, shape, or form. I want to use that because during the campaign, they had these fake ads that Trump is going to cut Social Security. No, they're the ones that are going to cut it because the country's going to go bankrupt under them.
Scare the
and that's
seniors.
why it's going to cut, because they're not going to have a choice. Not that they're saying we're going to cut it, but our country was heading for absolute bankruptcy. Using reconciliation, I also look forward to working with you to make our energy policies permanent and making our historic deregulation efforts a fixture of U.S. law so that no future president, like they did with Anwar, I got Anwar approved. Nobody could do it, including Ronald Reagan in Alaska. It's the largest site, potentially the largest site in the world, larger than Saudi Arabia. And I got it done. Ronald Reagan couldn't get it. Nobody could get it done. They tried, but they couldn't get it done. I got it done. And the first thing they did was end Anwar in Alaska. The biggest, most powerful site maybe anywhere in the world, that we got it done, and we're going to get it done again very quickly. Now, I think I do it with an executive order because they didn't go through Congress. I got it approved through Congress. So I think we get it done fast. But it's going to be, that can supply all of Asia with its location. All of Asia can be supplied by Anwar. So there's so many things, but we don't want to have any future president ever sabotage our economy with out-of-control regulations as the last two Democrat presidents have done. They went crazy. Last week I signed an order revoking Joe Biden's destructive artificial intelligence regulations so that AI companies can once again focus on being the best, not just being the most woke. And today and over the last couple of days, I've been reading about China.
Yep,
and
DeepSeek.
some of the companies in China, one in particular, coming up with a faster method of AI and much less expensive method. And that's good because you don't have to spend this much money. I view that as a positive, as an asset. So I really think if it's fact and if it's true, and nobody really knows if it is, but I view that as a positive because you'll be doing that too. So you won't be spending as much and you'll get the same result, hopefully. The release of DeepSeek AI from a Chinese company should be a wake-up call for our industries that we need to be laser-focused on competing to win, because we have the greatest scientists in the world. Even
AI race.
Chinese leadership told me that. They said, you have the most brilliant scientists in the world in Seattle and various places. But Silicon Valley, they said, there's nobody like those people. This is very unusual when you hear a DeepSeek, when you hear somebody come up with something. We always have the ideas. We're always first. So I would say that's a positive. That could be very much a positive development. So instead of spending billions and billions, you'll spend less and you'll come up with, hopefully, the same solution. Under the Trump administration, we're going to unleash our tech companies and we're going to dominate the future like never before. And finally, we need to work together on a defense bill that once again fully rebuilds our military for our great warriors. We have to have a strong, strong defense. And in a little while, I'll be signing 4 new executive orders. First is that I'm directing our new Secretary of Defense, Pete Hegseth, who's going to be great, by the way.
Yep.
Thank you for the support. Thank you very much for the support. You really did support him greatly. I think he's going to be fantastic. I know him very well. I think he's going to be fantastic. He's what we need to immediately begin the construction of a state-of-the-art Iron Dome missile defense shield, which will be able to protect Americans. You know, we protect other countries, but we don't protect ourselves.
I've always wondered that.
When Ronald Reagan wanted to do it many years ago, luckily we didn't. We didn't have the technology then. It was a concept, but we didn't. And now we have phenomenal technology. You see that with Israel. Where out of 319 rockets, they knocked down just about every one of them. So I think the United States is entitled to that, and everything will be made right here in the USA, 100%.
Yeah, we are entitled to that. Stop the balloon and the drone problem.
And next, to ensure that we have the most lethal fighting force in the world, we will get transgender ideology the hell out of our military. It's going to be gone. In addition, we will stop our service members from being indoctrinated with radical left ideologies such as critical race theory. We're going to stop it. It's already been stopped. It's already been halted, totally halted. And finally, we will offer full reinstatement to any service member who was expelled from the armed forces due to the COVID vaccine mandate.
Bring them back.
And we will restore them to their former rank with full pay.
Amazing.
And I think we're going to have a lot of people that join. And one thing I'll say, if you looked at our recruitment over the last week or so, 2 weeks, it's through the roof. You know, we were having a lot of people weren't signing. We were having a hard time recruiting people because they were looking at these people that they were supposed to be their leaders, and they weren't happy. They didn't like people that fall going upstairs. If you're going to fall, at least go downstairs from the plane. That triple fall, I use that thing in more ads. I didn't have an ad where I didn't put that in. Just a little quick,
Joe
1,
Biden's triple
2,
fall.
3. Reminded me of Joe Frazier when he went down, right? George Foreman, Joe Frazier. 3 falls in a matter of seconds. I said, can you speed it up a little bit? People are getting tired of it. But no, we have now the best recruitment we've seen in a long time. There's a tremendous number of people wanting to sign up. January 20th, 2025 was a turning point in American history. Starting last week, we're ending years of incompetence, radicalism, and betrayal, and we're ushering in the most exhilarating era of reform and renewal in the 250-year history of our country. And just in conclusion, I just want to say that this has been a very exciting and will be a very exciting new chapter. There's nothing we cannot achieve as long as the Republican Party remains united. I hope you can remain united.
We need them to. Don't squander this, guys.
And it's one thing I give the Democrats a lot of credit for because, you know, they have lousy policy. I think, frankly, half of them are totally crazy. But they do stick together. They stick together on stuff that nobody can. I mean, how can you want prisons emptied out into our country? They stick together. They stick together on everything. Impeachment hoax number 1, impeachment hoax number 2. They stick together.
Yeah.
Although I must tell you,
Because they're
you
cowards,
gave me great
really.
support during those 2 problems, those 2 fake witch hunts, which have now turned out to be totally fake and disgusting. But you gave me tremendous support. But the Republican Party has to stick together. We just can't have people going, 1, 2, 3 votes. And we don't have that luxury. It would be different if we had a 20-point, 30-point, 30-person majority, but we don't. We have to help leadership. And you can be assured that you have certain philosophies that if you're going to have most of the people, almost all of them, voting for something, you're going to be okay. It's not going to be bad. You have to stick together. It's the one thing that I would say we don't get very high marks. Everything is so hard. We always have 2 or 3 or 5 or something, people that just don't want to do it. And you just got to do it. You just got to do it. Make life easy. Just got to do it.
The American people gave the Republicans a mandate, gave Trump a mandate.
So right now we have a very special period because we have the House, we have the Senate, and we have the White House. And we're a team, and we're a really good team. And I appreciate so many times, and like even with Mike, I called 3 or 4 people, and they said, okay, sir, I'll do it. I'm going to vote. I'm going to vote positively. And they're very happy they did now. But when I called, we've gotten such a great response. We just had that happen with Pete Hegseth, and we have it happening with others. But we really appreciate it with the House. The House has been, it's a very difficult situation when you have that small a majority. but in a certain way, it brings you together. It actually can unify more than anybody would ever know. And a victory is sweeter, as they say, because of it. And I think we're going to have a lot of victories, but we have to stick together. We have to work together. We have to fight together. And we're going to win together. We're going to win like never before. We have a chance to win like never before. As long as we stay united, the 119th Congress will be remembered as the most successful and accomplished Republican majority in American history. I believe that. I think we have a chance of doing that. All right? And in January 2027, we will have a larger Republican House, a larger Republican Senate, and our country will be richer, safer, stronger, prouder, greater, freer, and ever before. I really think that we're going to have some big victories coming up, and I'm going to be helping every single one of you. I'm raising a lot of money, and I want to use it for the House, and I want to use it for the Senate. I've raised a lot of money, and I told my people, we raised $1.7 billion. They raised $2.6 billion. They have the unions with, checkoffs, which is always tough, $10 a month times millions and millions of people. And then we won, and we won by a lot. And they wanted to go out, and they still haven't raised it. They're trying to raise $28 million. They cannot raise 10 cents. It's good to win, I will tell you. It's really good to win, but they can't raise money. But I told my people the morning after. Now, normally, because we have so many donors here and so many people that I love and respect, a lot of great friends of mine, but I told my people, Meredith and Susie, by the way, how good is Susie, the Ice Maiden? Where is the Ice Maiden?
Amazing.
She is so great.
Susie Wiles.
She is so good. Stand up, Susie. The Ice Maiden, ladies and gentlemen.
Shout out to Susie. She's crushing. Ice Maiden Susie.
Wow, look at that.
Cool nickname, too.
Most powerful woman in the world, they say. Most powerful woman in the world. She's made of ice. She's great. No, when I came to Florida, Florida was a Democrat state, had a Democrat governor. They had one Democrat senator. It was largely a Democrat state. And through various reasons, I ended up with Susie running the campaign, and she was unbelievable. We won it in a landslide. And then the second time, we won it in an even bigger landslide. And when it came time to choosing somebody to run the campaign, the whole campaign, I said, what about Susie from Florida? She'd never lost. I won every primary. I won every, I didn't lose anything. And it was a Democrat state, and it was a landslide both times. And all of the Republican stuff was almost like it didn't even exist. It was amazing. And I said, what about Susie? Well, sir, a woman has never been in this position before. I said, really? Oh, by the way, we have Kellyanne Conway. She didn't do too badly either, right? She did a great job, 2016. And when it came time to chief of staff, do you know that there has never been a woman chief of staff? But there is now. There is now, right? I didn't know that. I'm so surprised. I'm very surprised. But it came time to running the campaign, and I said, well, I've never had a loss with Susie. She comes from great stock, Pat Summerall is her father. Pat Summerall was a football player, great football player, but a really great announcer, really the voice of the NFL for 27 years or something. He was great, and a leader. He worked with John Madden, and he was able to get John Madden to do things that nobody else could do. They'd say, Pat, John is really difficult. Now, John was a difficult guy, but he got big ratings, and he was good. And Pat would go up, come on, John, let's get this done. Come on. I know you don't like the heads of the company. They're paying you a lot of money. Come on, John, let's get it done. And he'd go and do it. And this went on for, 27 years, right? But he was a leader, her father. And, this is somebody that has the gene. I'll tell you, she's great. And she's done a fantastic job. So she was so good with the campaign. I said, let's let her do the campaign. And it was flawless. And again, I said before, we had her win a lot of votes because it's crooked as hell. And I hope you can go to voter ID and same-day voting and paper ballots and all of those things, because ultimately we'll never lose a race if you do that. I'm telling you, you'll never lose a race.
That's why
I hope you can get that. And that's said to the governors mostly, but you people have a lot of power over it. But Susie ran the race, and we did phenomenally, and then we just made her the chief of staff, and she's doing great. They say it was the greatest opening week in presidential history. And I think, couldn't be a hell of a lot better. Even CNN is saying, this guy is amazing. I couldn't believe it. I said, did CNN really say that? Because nobody watches, so nobody was able to confirm it. But it was pretty amazing. Oh, the camera just went off. It's always tough. Usually you get them by surprise. But I just want to thank everybody. We're going to make this tremendously successful. I believe we're going to have one of the greatest 4 years in the history of our country. We're going to turn it around quickly, and then we're going to go on and we're going to progress like nobody ever thought possible. And I want to thank these great 4 people because they really are leaders and they're phenomenal people. And I want to thank all of my friends in the audience, many of whom are congressmen and congresswomen and people that have just tremendous talent. Every single one of you, I know every one of you, and you have tremendous talent. And if we stick and if we fight together, there's nobody can stop us. We're going to have, because they have bad policy. Their policy is so bad. Nobody could win with this policy. Nobody. And we have the best policy. And again, as they say, and we say, and I've been saying for a long time, we're the party of common sense. And we're the party that's going to have the best 4 years ever. Thank you very much. Appreciate it.
Mr.
Thank you very much.
President in the house. That was a great speech, man. That was a lot of fun, funny, and he covered a lot of ground. So what I thought was most interesting about the whole thing was his essentially pleading to the Republicans to get their act together, right? Stop the inner fighting that is going to lead to just chaos without any actual results. And there's something about the Democrats. They are very unified in their destructive policies. But what we don't see from them is really any alternative proposals, right? It's kind of their way or the highway. What we often get from Republicans is a little bit of a battle back and forth, but they don't do a good job of coalescing, right? I'm for a conversation. If you've got alternative ideas, propose those, and then we can have a debate about those. And then when you lose the debate, then you can get on board and be a team player. Okay, the Democrats don't do that. Nobody ever debates about anything. It's just, this is it, do it, and they all do it because they're cowardly little automatons who just do what their party leaders tell them to do. I do appreciate that the Republicans don't do that exactly, but what we often see from the Republicans is, the vote the conscience people and all this stuff. And it's almost like they're just doing it really because they're narcissistic and trying to inflate their own egos and their own careers vis-a-vis Trump. Whereas right now we've got a 2-year window. Okay, if everybody just battens down the hatches and works together, everybody will be successful. All right, you don't need to make your career right now. Let's get a lot of good stuff done. The American people can see the results of your efforts, and then you'll be successful in the aftermath. But you need strong leadership. You need a guy like Trump who's going to come out and deliver. So that was, I think, excellent. I thought Trump had a lot of good stuff to say there, some interesting ideas too, like deporting our criminal, I think citizens is what he was saying, our criminal citizens overseas to some faraway land. We'll see if that gains any traction. But other ideas like eliminating the income tax and like tariffing the absolute hell out of anybody who wants to exploit America. Let's be clear on what that is. Those stories about them setting up a factory, China setting up a factory in Mexico so they can make cars cheaper and just print them and ship them into the United States. That is exploitation. It's not free market capitalism. That's China and Mexico trying to gain an advantage economically by utilizing slave labor and taking advantage of our stupid politicians. Trump is able to have a speech and reverse all of that immediately. And that was incredible to hear him explain that. So 1 week, we've already had more action from President Trump than we had from Joe Biden in 4 years. In 7 days, we've seen more progress on some of the most important issues that I think are going to improve the lives of every American, whether they like it or not. It's going to improve their situation. And so we've got one final story I want to update on before we hear from you and see what you have to say about this. Thank you for sending in those super chats and for hanging with us during Trump's live speech. But there was some other big news out there on the day. And so let's just get this story under our belts because this is vindication happening right now. The CIA suddenly now favoring the lab leak theory. Of course, we know John Ratcliffe has taken command there. and revealed to us what we have all believed to be the truth for quite some time. But what I don't like about this phrase is this leak, like this lab leak theory. Leak is pretty passive to me. It's kind of like, you have a leaky pipe, like something leaks out of your toilet or something. Not exactly proven yet that this was an accident or a leak or something. We have further questions about this. And so as we're constantly asking about the lab leak, we're asking if this was a lab attack or some sort of an operation to try to extract something that went bad, right? Not like an accident, but some sort of operation went bad. We still don't have answers on that. But the CIA has now joined the FBI and others and saying the CIA is getting off the sidelines, finally. And this has been an interesting development because our intelligence agencies, who were supposed to gather intelligence and know the answers to questions like this, for 5 years now, it's 2025, couldn't figure out that it came from Wuhan in a lab. It was a bat market lie for 5 years. All right, the CIA has said for years, we don't have enough information yet. Then what are you doing? Why are you funded at all if you can't figure it out? To come to a conclusion. But the agency issued a new assessment this week with analysts now saying it was a lab theory. Now, there is no new intelligence behind this shift. Rather, it's based on the same evidence they've been chewing over for months. The analysis, however, is based in part on a closer look at the conditions at the high security lab in Wuhan. A spokeswoman for the agency at the CIA said the other theory remains plausible, could be a wet market, and that the agency will continue to evaluate any new intelligence, but some Americans say the debate matters little. The Chinese government failed to either regulate its markets or its labs, but others argue it's more important because we want repercussions for the people who caused this to happen so that it doesn't happen again. Okay, for them to just turn around, oh no, we can't determine what it is. You're the CIA. You're the most powerful so-called intelligence agency in the world. And you can't come to a conclusion on that, then you should lose every dollar of funding you've ever had. So now, though, they're favoring the hypothesis, again, calling it a lab leak. He has said it is a critical piece of intelligence. We have to figure out how this went down. The announcement of the shift came after Mr. Ratcliffe met with Breitbart News, said he doesn't want the agency on the sidelines anymore. He has long said he believes it came from Wuhan Institute of Virology. Officials said the agency was not bending its views to a new boss, just that we finally had an assessment. In the final weeks, Jake Sullivan, who went to Oxford, the national security advisor, also an idiot, ordered a new classified review of the pandemic's origin. Yeah, so that they could now say, oh, we were actually looking into it. As part of that review, the agency's previous director, William Burns, told analysts that they needed to take a position on the origins of COVID. He said, I'm agnostic. I don't care where you say it came from, but you got to take a position because we look like idiots and fools for not coming to a conclusion after 5 years. That's our entire job, is to come to a conclusion on intelligence. It's the central place to gather it. It's in the name. Another senior U.S. official said it was Ratcliffe's decision to declassify and release the new analysis. Since the outbreak of the pandemic, questions have swirled around whether the two labs handling coronaviruses in Wuhan had safety protocols. The agency made it reminds us like a Mission Impossible scene. In fact, I think they did that entire movie, Mission Impossible 2, which wasn't that great, on a similar concept. The agency made a new assessment with low confidence, which means we don't really know. Even in the absence of hard intelligence, the lab leak hypothesis has been gaining ground inside spy agencies. Some analysts now question the wisdom of shifting a position. Former officials say they're not adverse to a new examination. Ratcliffe has been raising questions about this for a while, and Senator Tom Cotton has also called this out and saying, I've said from the beginning that COVID probably came from Wuhan. The important thing is now that we have to make China pay for unleashing this plague on the world. So is this, what kind of payment are we talking about? Like financial, tariff, military? Here's Tom Cotton.
China. This was a headline from the New York Times yesterday. CIA now favors lab leak theory to explain COVID's origins. This was their headline in February of 2020. Senator Tom Cotton repeats fringe theory of coronavirus origins. Do you feel some level of vindication?
Our hack media, all this type of crap. And we got medical misinfo strikes. They didn't tell you exactly what the reason was, but we got a strike on YouTube for this garbage. Medical misinformation. What do we say that was misinformation? We can't tell you. You're just going against the CDC or whatever. Okay, all this crap back then was telling people like us that we were conspiracy theorist idiots. Turns out we're right. We knew better than the CIA did about COVID. We knew better than the CIA did about Russian disinformation and Hunter Biden's laptop. What is the CIA doing on behalf of America other than not finding intelligence and lying to us?
Well, I said from the very beginning, COVID probably came from that lab. I didn't have access to classified intelligence or special scientific knowledge.
You don't need it. You just can look and try to explain what had happened, okay? And we made this conclusion just based on the reaction around the world. It was very easy to see. Every year we have new stupid viruses that pop up, bird flu this, swine flu that, happens every year. Then we had something else happen, right? Back during COVID, every single elected leader, Trump himself came out, and I remember this. We watched Trump's basically face go white, okay? He came out, don't worry about it, he came back out, then declared a national emergency. Like, crap. What is it? When the government responds like it's a DEFCON 5, that means it's not the usual thing. Okay, everybody knew it came from a lab. Because if it hadn't, they would have treated it like all of the other things. They knew it. They lied to us. We could figure it out from the beginning.
I just used a little common sense and looked at the facts and understood what Chinese communists do. I'm glad that in the final days of the Biden administration, the CIA reached the same conclusion, and I commend John Ratcliffe for making that conclusion public. The important thing now is that we have to make China pay for an...
It was a cover-up. They did their little investigation so they could say, oh, crap, we've been lying to you for 4 years, but now, oh, we just discovered it. So that's why we were lying to you, is because we didn't know, and now we just now know.
Unleashing this plague on the world, just like we have to make them pay for stealing our jobs and harming American workers and businesses by doing things like imposing tariffs on them, on strategically critical goods, or passing my legislation that would repeal their permanent most favored nation status.
All right, subject to China.
So that's Tom Cotton. We also had Ratcliffe, who was out and explaining his position on this as the new CIA director. He was on the Sunday shows with Maria Bartiromo.
And America being back, but we also, the president and I talked about the fact that while it's an opportunity, we have great responsibility, and we've got difficult circumstances that we've inherited. We've got war in Eastern Europe. We've got all the mayhem that has taken place in the Middle East, held together now by, fragile ceasefires in Gaza and Lebanon. And we have China, Russia, North Korea, and Iran cooperating in a way that we've never seen before. So we have difficult circumstances, great responsibility, and President Trump has challenged me and the rest of his incoming cabinet to do better, to put America back on our front foot after 4 years on our back foot.
Yes, and thank you for your work on that, Director. And you, right out of the gate, come out with this new intelligence that the CIA has concluded the deadly COVID-19 pandemic arose likely from the leak out of a laboratory in Wuhan, as our audience expected. Tell me the significance of the CIA now confirming this, sir.
Well, it's one of the things President Trump and I talked about. Part of what we have to do is we have to restore Americans' trust in our own institutions, like the intelligence community and law enforcement, and that includes the CIA. And, one of the things that the president stressed, the purpose of the CIA is to protect Americans, to keep us safe from foreign threats and foreign adversaries. But we also need to be truthful with Americans. And he has stressed to me and others that, these aren't mutually exclusive missions. We can do both. And so in the case of the CIA, which is the best foreign intelligence service in the world, after 5 years to not have a public assessment, to be honest with the American people about where the likely source of a pandemic that killed millions around the world, including 1 million Americans, and really impacted all 345 million Americans in some way. People lost jobs, they lost houses, they lost their health, they lost their businesses, all of that. And so I had the opportunity on my first day to make public an assessment that actually took place in the Biden administration. So it can't be accused of being political, and it does assess. The CIA has assessed that the most...
Except it was political, right? That's why they did it in those final days. They knew that it was from Wuhan, but they didn't want to talk about it for 3.5 years. So at the very end, they're like, okay, now we can let our CIA actually do their job. And now we can have them stop lying to the American public. That's how sick our last president was. and at the very end, they finally give themselves an excuse to give us the real report, and now we get it to have it released.
Likely cause of this pandemic that has wrought so much devastation around the world was because of a lab-related incident in Wuhan. And so we'll continue to investigate that moving forward. But I think it was important for the American people to see an institution like the CIA get off the sidelines and be truthful about what our intelligence shows, at the same time of protecting us from adversaries like China if they caused or contributed to this.
So what will there be? Will there be a response to Communist China on this? What will be the result of this? And also, why was it important for President Trump to revoke the security clearance of the former CIA director, John Brennan, and the 51 spies who misled us?
Because they're liars.
Well, all this goes hand in hand, Maria. So, we talk about, what President Trump wants is, he says, lead with integrity and get the politics out of the intelligence community. So you talk about, revoking security clearances. When we talk about the 51 former intelligence officials, remember that there's sworn testimony under oath from the author of that letter that the intent behind that was to influence the election in favor of then candidate Biden.
Yep. Michael Morell admitted
to improperly influence election was something that everyone knows wasn't true, that Hunter Biden's laptop was real, that it wasn't Russian disinformation. So this was all about accountability and deterrence and consequences. When former officials use the imprimatur of icy authority to misrepresent to the American people, there should be consequences. And so this was not retributive in any way. It was about making sure that people think about this, myself included, going forward, that we don't mix politics and intelligence. And so consequences and establishing deterrence, the COVID origins assessment, making that public. President Trump needs to have the very best intelligence so that when he's negotiating with President Xi and other adversaries, he's able to confront them with the things that we know, that our intelligence tells us about what our adversaries have done to us. So now that it's out there, he'll be able to use that, to leverage that, to have honest discussions, to put our national security posture in a better position than it's been for the last 4 years.
Director, have you identified or concluded that lab leak was intentional or accidental?
Well, we're going to continue to look at, I've been on the job a couple of days now, and I'm going to look closely at the intelligence that we've gathered. Maria, I think we'll get to the point where every intelligence agency in the United States will agree with the CIA's assessment that the most likely outcome was from a lab in Wuhan. And we'll get more intelligence as time goes by, and we'll be transparent with the American people about what that intelligence says.
Let us see it.
We'll be following your work, and we hope to have you back to talk about.
We want to see the intelligence. That would be a lot of fun. So the Chinese have responded to this. This woman here is called Mao Ning. She's the foreign ministry spokesperson for China. And here's what their little press conference looked like. And you can consider this like the Chinese Korean, essentially, although a lot more intelligent. Here are some of the questions that came to her. Question for Mao Ning. Donald Trump has said that China is behind the supply of fentanyl chemicals to Mexico and Canada. What's your response to that, Mao? And what is China doing to crack down on selling the precursors? She said China is one of the world's toughest countries on counter narcotics, both in terms of policy and implementation. China announced in 2019 the decision to schedule fentanyl as a class. We are the first country to do it. China has given support to the U.S. response. We hope the U.S. will work to continue this. Another question. From Bloomberg to China. Yesterday, the CIA in America said that they now believe the COVID-19 pandemic likely originated from lab leak rather than from a natural source. Does the Chinese Ministry of Foreign Affairs have any response to this new development? China says, origins tracing is a matter of science, and any judgment on it should be made in a science-based spirit and by scientists, like Anthony Fauci. It is extremely unlikely, she says, quote, that the pandemic was caused by a lab leak. This is the authoritative conclusion reached by the experts of the WHO China Joint Mission based on science. following their field trips to the lab in Wuhan and in-depth communication with researchers. The conclusion has been widely acknowledged by the international community, including the science community. Says, oh, she's talking smack now. Mao Ning says, the U.S. needs to stop politicizing and weaponizing origins tracing at once and stop scapegoating others. Ooh, what'd she say? The U.S. should respond as quickly as possible to the international community's legitimate concerns, voluntarily share its data with the WHO about suspected early cases in the U.S., and clarify the questions concerning relevant U.S. biological labs, and give a responsible explanation to the world. Oh, dang, son. So she's talking garbage back to us. Like, oh, yeah, you want to talk about your biolabs like the ones you have in Ukraine that Victoria Nuland accidentally spilled the guts on when Marco Rubio asked her that question? Oh, they got asked about Colombia, too. Yesterday, Trump threatened to impose tariffs on Colombia unless they took back their citizens without documentation. Then a few hours ago, the U.S. withdrew that threat because Colombia agreed to take back those migrants. My first question is, what is China's view on this? On this 24 hours between the U.S. and Colombia? My second question is, does China intend to take back all the Chinese nationals? She says on your first question, that's between the U.S. and Colombia. We hope they resolve it. On your second question, I refer you to competent authorities for anything specific. And let me say more broadly that the Chinese government firmly opposes any form of illegal migration. We have conducted practical cooperation with the migration and law enforcement departments of the U.S., and it has been productive. As far as repatriation is concerned, China's principle is to receive the repatriates who are confirmed as Chinese nationals from the Chinese mainland after verification. And so, pretty short press conference. There were a couple people who asked wrong questions and they've been executed summarily. So you can see that's what's happening in China. And we also have the CIA, who is freaked out about the old CIA, freaked out about the truth coming out. And one person they're very nervous about is Tulsi Gabbard, and the fact that she's hopefully coming in soon this week. We're going to be here covering the nomination hearing for Tulsi, Cash, and RFK. Tulsi and Cash are happening back to back, so we'll keep our eye on Cash and check in with Tulsi. But as you can see, former CIA Director John Brennan, who is, in my opinion, a criminal and a liar, and one of the biggest threats to American security in the current environment, is very upset about Tulsi, saying she could skew intelligence, just like this guy did when he was involved in the Hunter Biden laptop letter. Here's John Brennan.
Well, when there are National Security Council meetings that the president chairs in the White House Situation Room, usually the first person to speak would be the Director of National Intelligence and the Director of CIA. They lay down the intelligence basis for any type of policy discussion that ensues. And so if that intelligence basis, that briefing, is going to be skewed or is going to be lacking some very important critical information.
You mean like you liars, when you guys signed that letter? And when you got paid by the CIA as contractors, and when the CIA Publication Approval Board approved it, and when you worked in their locations and you guys lied to all of America, you mean like those types of intelligence conversations?
The policy decision that ultimately comes out of it is also going to be baseless, and also, it's going to be potentially threatening to our national security. So again, it's the president's daily brief, but also the role that the Director of National Intelligence, Director of CIA play in order to ensure that the people who have to make those decisions in the National Security Council are fully informed about what the reality is, what the intelligence is, what our intelligence gaps are. And if they withhold things, or if they skew things, it really is going to be detrimental to
Real quick before we let you go, Director, do those agency heads have, in that moment you're describing in that room, have that realization that, wait a minute, that's not what we told you? I mean, in other words, how does that coordination become undone when the person who's putting the final brief is skewed the information?
Well, I like to think that, Secretary of State Rubio, who is very familiar with the intelligence profession, is going to be speaking up, because you have the Secretary of State, Secretary of Defense, the Attorney General, others who are going to be there. So you want to make sure, again, that you have people who are informed, but also people who want to know the truth.
Right.
And not just people who want to give President Trump what he wants to hear. That is so dangerous. And none of the 6 presidents that I work for ever wanted the intelligence community to give them what they wanted. They wanted the intelligence community to give them what they needed, and then they can make the appropriate policy decisions.
It's disgusting that guy worked with 6 presidents. Okay, that's part of the problem right there. But the guy's a liar, clearly, and is panicked about Tulsi and cash coming in, and John Ratcliffe, and opening up the floodgates on their lies. And so Tulsi is coming in very soon, and there was this clip from Tucker Carlson today. He was talking about this, saying, I've been in Washington for a long time, and saying, along with Matt Taibbi, that they are panicked about Tulsi, Cash, and Ratcliffe. Here's this exchange.
There's panic. I sense panic. And I sense it in some of these confirmation battles, particularly the sort of offline stuff that you don't see in the media, but just when you find out the lengths to which permanent Washington is going to, say, sabotage Tulsi Gabbard, who's an Army officer who's had a clearance for more than a decade, carries an automatic weapon. I mean, clearly we trust her with America's, defense. Why can't we trust her with America's secrets? Well, of course we can. So what is this? And it really is, people are panicked that what they've been doing is going to come to light.
They got busted.
Well, they should be panicked, because if you read the executive order on the weaponization of government, it specifically empowers the Director of National Intelligence to conduct a wide-ranging report into the possible misdeeds of the entire intelligence community, and orders her to come up with anything negative that they can find.
Holy shit.
So can you imagine?
No.
Right? I mean, that's like trying to make a list of everything. She'll be doing it from now to the end of time. But no, I mean, in perfect seriousness, it's setting the stage for, kind of a second church committee hearings era. And that was a great moment in American history.
All right. So you can see panic in the air. I know you can sense it too. Tucker hears it. Matt Taibbi hears it. And Tulsi is going to be coming up on deck this week. We'll be here to cover it. All right. And so, my friends, if you're just joining us, thank you for joining us on this beautiful Monday afternoon stream. We had some good stuff we talked about. We covered a little January 6th update and how the Oath Keepers embarrassed Judge Amit Mehta, who had to reverse himself from Friday, and how they'll be going back to D.C. whenever the hell they want. We also talked about the CIA, and now the fact that they can finally admit the truth. They knew what the truth was for years, but they lied to us all about it because they're liars. Hopefully not anymore. We also learned a little bit about John Brennan, and of course we heard from President Trump deliver a burner in front of the House Republicans and urging and pleading with them to get their acts together. And now, my friends, it's time to hear from you. And of course, thank you so much for being here. Thanks for being membos. Welcome aboard, new membos. If you are a membo, then we got to see you this morning on the members only morning stream. And if you want to join us on our members only morning stream, we'd love to have you join us. Go to watchingthewatchers.locals.com, sign up there, and join us on the Locals app, or become a member on YouTube, and we'll see you in the morning. See you tomorrow morning for the members only stream. All right, who is here on the day? What's up? It's a Monday, indeed. Look at this kitty. It's a Monday. Indeed, in the house, we got Lowell Skinner, who just became a supporter. Amazing. Lowell Skinner. Hope we'll see you tomorrow morning on the Members Only stream. American Trucker says, hey, Rob, sorry I was late. I hope the 2,200 coin tip came in through. That's the 2 tickets I wanted to pass on. Thanks for all you do. American Trucker, you did that. I'll double check on that. Thank you so much for sending that in. I think you're asking about the inauguration watch party, which was a week ago. But thanks for doing that. We did scholarships and people who couldn't afford it and invited friends and stuff. So thank you, American Trucker. Thanks for passing that forward, man. We appreciate it. Roger Needham. Yes, I think you can get a pardon for treason. What's up, Lenny Malley? Reminding everybody to hit that like button. Thank you, Lenny, for doing that and for sharing this on social media. and for aggressively enticing people you know or love to come to the channel, okay? Let's just leave it at that. Glocky says China wrecked Nvidia today. Yeah, the stock markets were rough. 600 billion in market cap. Yeah, that was an interesting phrase from Trump too. He's like, it's not that big of a deal. Everything's going to be cheaper. It's like, man, American companies just got obliterated because of this. But I think he's saying long term, our companies will catch up. And it's curious. It's a curious thing that's happened because he just got done announcing with OpenAI 500 billion in new AI investment. And this thing just came out and basically maybe is saying you don't need to do all that. Blocky, what's up? Says Trump fired 12 DOJ officials who persecuted him. CNN's reporting this via Western Lensman. Yeah, good. We'll cover that tomorrow. We'll make sure we identify those folks as best we can. They should be fired and more. Knox is here. Happy Monday, all. Says Mike Johnson cracks me up. You just know he's been a nerd all his life and now he's hanging with the cool kids. 100% Knox. I couldn't agree more with that. And we were saying that earlier. We're like, look, Johnson just wants to hang out with these guys. Like, he's going to, we have to give him a chance because the last cycle, he was just trying to like kind of be cool to everybody. And he kind of sucked because he was kind of like cool to the Democrats. But now he's hanging with Trump and co. And he just like wants to, he's like, just like, let me be a part of this awesome club. And sometimes people like that perform. You're like, he's like, put me in, coach, just put me in. You're like, all right, Mike, we're going to give you a chance. You give him the ball, he's like, scores like 5 touchdowns. Like, so this could happen. We don't know. Glocky says, I hate to be a doomer. Here's the opposite side. But Republicans, especially at least 4 in the Senate, are going to tank the rest of Trump's nominees. Cotton is now calling for an open vote in the committees because he thinks doing the secret ballot on the committees is going to give Murkowski the ability to vote with Democrats and not advance Tulsi out of committee on a floor vote. We'll see what happens. Yeah, Murkowski's pretty much the worst, one of the worst Republicans. And she has like a stranglehold on Alaska for some reason. That's not changing. Hey, Knox is here. Yeah, that's exactly Mike Johnson. He's just like, man, I'm just happy to be here. I don't know how this happened, but I'm hanging out with Kid Rock and this other dude in front of a UFC fight. He's like, this is crazy. It's like, like 3 years ago, I was playing Scrabble with my, Aunt Chelada. And now I'm here on the floor of the UFC. This is crazy. Hey, potentially criminal. In the house. Hey, Donuts, I think Lincoln over there. Potentially criminal Sean in the house. What's up? Great work this past week, Rob. Thank you, sir. I appreciate that. Thank you for stopping by. My friends, are you subscribed to Potentially Criminal's channel? It's right next door on all the platforms. Very sharp lawyer. And I encourage you to check out his work because you'll like it. Thank you, Potentially Criminal, for the dono. Good to see you. Glocky says, Warren was just on the Senate floor screaming about how Trump's Treasury pick hasn't paid $2 million in taxes and Republicans are going to throw your parents out of nursing homes. Wait until Cash and RFK Jr. are debated on the Senate floor. So I think Scott Bessent, right? He just got confirmed as well. So we do have a new Treasury Secretary. That's done. This week's going to be lit starting Wednesday with RFK. All hail Tarpon Springs tyrants. Welcome, new supporter in the House. I like it. Will Crump says, Tom Homan needs to make an example of the Arizona governor. She boasts that she will block deportations. Arrest her. Perp walk her in front of the entire nation. Yeah, as an Arizona resident, I support that. Katie Hobbs walked down we can deport her with Trump's deportation plan. But I just saw, and we'll cover this tomorrow, that Congress is subpoenaing all these sanctuary city mayors and people. So maybe she'll get on that list. Neuro D, what's up? Smash that thumbs up, peeps. Thank you for the reminder, Neuro D. Thanks for hitting it. If your thumbs are working, you can, if they work, thanks for hitting it. Becky Beagles, what's up, Becky B? Rise up and shine. We're the channel most sublime. Just let that one sit for a minute. Nicely done, Becky B. Little Miss Giggles is in the house. Welcome aboard, Little Miss Giggles. We'll see you tomorrow morning. We're going to have so much fun. You're going to be giggling your little caboose off. Hey, Knox Bierman is here. Melania's official portrait in black and white. Melania looks good. It's a nice portrait. You can tell she means business. Former, we should outsource our prisoners to Australia, like the good old days. Yeah, and I saw some great comments in the chat about this too. I think Bonnie said we should also send them to LA, just build a wall around LA Ship all the criminals there, you know? And then we'll have a whole new decade of amazing action movies. Michelle says the military looks at Hawaii Guard officers like a joke. That system is cronyism at its finest. Tulsi Records tracks with the same record. Her military service is underwhelming to anyone knowledgeable with service records. From Michelle in the house. Yeah, look, I've heard a lot of criticisms about Tulsi. And the idea being that she's a Democrat, you know, before, and we got questions about her loyalties to the cause and stuff like that. We're going to learn a lot about her at these hearings. Now, kind of my default on this with all of these folks has been Trump has vetted them and he's giving them the benefit of the doubt. So I'm open to it. I'm even open to it with Mike Johnson and all these. I'm like, all right, yeah, I'm mad at you. But okay, like this is a new cycle. Like, let's see. So we'll see, Michelle. I think that she's probably going to get a lot of criticism on her record, and we'll see how she handles it. Other comments here, reaction. Obviously, I've never served, so I can't opine on this judgment. Michelle, it sounds like you may have. Just Rhonda saying thanks. Tony Brake says, I'm leery of her, but I got to trust Trump. Yeah. B. Torn says, my son is in the Guard. Cronyism plays no part. She was a nurse. What can be underwhelming in that position during the Iraq War? What can be underwhelming where wounded and death was daily? Yeah, and someone else, Michelle says, have you ever looked into why she was appointed as an officer? I have. Doesn't look good. Right. So there's more there. And I don't know all the details of it, but I'm hopeful that we'll learn more about her on Thursday. But as I said, I think that the Trump team, the people around her have vetted her. So I'm on board with giving her that opportunity to prove herself in the administration. But I think this is great and sober feedback. Like, right, it's good to be sober about these things too and not just be cheerleaders. Sheila the Pooh, what's up? 1,000,000 hugs to you. Bringing in 10 membos. Thank you, Sheila, for doing this. 10 people coming in. Look who it is. Pablo Concepcion. We got Brewing is here. Just Lurking. Paul D, what's up? Melissa Coxon in the house. Tracy Collins. Stan Harwell. What's up? Rohan 45, C Fox, and Whistle Stop Cafe. Gifted membos, courtesy of Sheila Pooh. 1,000,000 hugs to you, Sheila, in the house. Thank you, Sheila. Colleen is here. What's up, Colleen? Says, at least you can understand him and not fall asleep while you're waiting for the next word. Trump really knows how to talk. He does, man. And he's funny. He's hilarious. He's riffing on Jim Jordan and stuff. He's like, as a wrestler, amazing. As a congressman, pretty good. Like, oh my gosh, busting his balls right in front of everybody. Jim's like, I'm going to come up there and put you in a full Nelson, bro. Secret Service is going to have to step in. Hey, Colleen, at least you can understand him and not fall asleep while you're waiting for the next word. Trump really knows how to talk. Thank you for that one, Colleen. Glocky says, breaking. Scott Bessent wins U.S. Senate approval as a Treasury chief. And he seems solid. We just caught a little bit of his confirmation hearings, but he was having fun with them. I mean, he was just kind of doing laps around all the senators. It was great. Elena, what's up, Elena? AKA Neely in the house, says, you're one of my favorite sources of news. Love your humor and hands down, seriously, the best legal channel. Elena, I don't know about that. It's a really nice endorsement, but there's a lot of really good legal channels out there. Appreciate you, Rob. Thank you, Elena, for that. We have fun, and I can't take credit for any of the humor. I mean, it's Washington. They do it to themselves. Thank you, Elena, for the dono. Hey, Jack Mack is here, says, it was an overwhelming week of MAGA winning. It's been 1 week. 7 days, that's it. Feels like a whole different country. NY's here, says, just got home from vet oncologist. My best friend Cooper has lymphoma. Bummer, man. He's 10, he's a Doberman. We don't know what type of lymphoma yet, and that will help in my decision with what to do with treatment, but he started his CHOP chemo today with vincristine. Prayers appreciated. Man, we love our furry friends. Cooper sounds like an amazing pup. We hope you get it figured out and he gets it kicked. Thank you, NY. We're going to send some love your way and to Cooper's way. Real good boy Coop in the house. What's up? Real with Robo says Trump needs Rob to clean the justice system up. I don't know. I mean, everybody's doing such an amazing job. It's not like I'd be like I wanted to be I wanted to just be in charge of the January 6th prosecutions for just 5 minutes. That's it. But I think Trump did it in 2, obviously. So it's like solved, basically. They're all fired. Everybody got pardoned. Did it faster than even I could do it. So I don't even know what I was talking about. I think they got it covered. But thanks for the endorsement, Real with Robo. Hey, SD Gold Star Mom says, I feel like an expectant father pacing until the baby arrives. Any update yet on your goodies? No, I don't have them yet, SD Gold Star Mom. Sorry about that, but I will get them and we'll enjoy them together. Says, thank you for doing a great job as always. Big smiles. Thank you, SD Gold Star Mom. Sorry that I don't have them yet, but I will definitely enjoy them. Thank you, SD Gold Star Mom. Thank you for the dono and for being so amazing and sending us goodies. I just have to get them. Coyote, what's up? Says, Trump, please rename Fort Liberty back to Fort Bragg. And I think that's like in process. I think that either Hegseth did it officially or he was referring to it officially earlier today. So yeah, I think that's happening. Tony, hey, Munkets, says they want you to get a real ID so you can fly and go into government buildings, but they don't want ID voting. Yeah, that's a great point. You need an ID for everything. Unless you're voting, then you can be whoever you want and vote multiple times. No big deal. Hey, one old guy's opinion says, does anyone see the resemblance between Mike Johnson and Phil Hartman? Can someone make a meme to showcase it? From one old guy's opinions. Yeah, Phil Hartman, the guy who did the voice for The Simpsons. Troy McClure, you may remember me from films like, Hi, I'm Troy McClure, and Good Morning, welcome to Troy McClure. Things like that, right? Yeah, shout out to him. Hey, it's Bruce! Rice, baby. Dun 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 dun. Hey, Bruce, did you hear that there's Ice Maiden? Susie Wiles? Is that just exciting as hell or what? Hey, Supa Spy Girl is in the house, gifted a membo from Bruce. Bimmer Vibes, Alicia Heaton, Leon Lately, Mike S., Johnny Will Do It, Blue Sky, Jeff Larson, Chris Schaefer, Patriot 1111 in the house, along with Golden Gaming, shouting out Bruce, Rice, baby. Dun 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 dun. What's up? Thank you, Bruce. NY says, okay, so a virologist and other scientists for too long have self-policed bio levels 2 to 5 and up facilities. The NY's in the house. Says it's time that independent commissions of allied scientists, not just other virologists, police the dangerous research going on. Other scientists should participate in oversight, not just the friends of the virologist, just seeking to cover up the mistakes, and prioritize their grant funding rather than the safety of humanity. Like a peer review for the gain of function maniacs. One old guy says the NIH and Dr. Joseph Rudolph Mengele, Fauci needs to come and testify under oath in the House or in the court, right? And the idea is that since he was pardoned and since he accepted the pardon, he doesn't have the Fifth Amendment right against self-incrimination on those topics. And I guess, again, he'll say that he does, but we'll see. Glocky says Senator Murkowski is actively colluding with a foreign government to undermine the president's authority on national security matters. I demand special counsel and a grand jury investigate this. What is this from Chad Pergram? He covers Fox News. He says, here's a joint statement by Senator Murkowski and Danish parliamentarian representing Greenland. Oh, shoot. Murkowski's co-conspiring with the Danes? This is going to be bad for them. The appeal of Greenland is easy to understand. It is strategically located for defense shipping. It's also storehouse for minerals. But Greenland's not for sale. The question has been asked and firmly answered by the government of Greenland. We'll see. As legislators representing Greenland and Denmark, we see a better path forward. Partnership, not ownership. Open for business, but not for sale. All right, Lisa. We'll see about that. NY says, I was one of the founding physicians for the official Discord COVID-19 info server. When I brought up the possibility of a lab leak and treating with natural bioflavonoids, I was demoted and warned I'd be kicked off if I challenged anything that didn't come from the CDC. Spud says, Anthony Fauci, I am the biolab. Yeah, he's like, I am the law. I am the science. Pathetic, Fauci. One old guy's opinion says loser Brennan, no doubt. Colleen is here, says, I am really looking forward to this presidency. People are too worried. Yeah, I am too. I think a lot fewer people are worried this time than they were the last time. The people who are worried are very loud and annoying and obnoxious. But I don't think most people are really worried. In fact, Trump's approval numbers are looking good. People want actual progress for America. and Trump is doing something instead of doing nothing. Good to see you, Colleen. Great comment. Tony Hay Muckets says, who is this Joe Biden guy everyone is talking about? Yeah, man, he was forgotten a long time ago. I read a headline that Backhand Doug is already back doing legal work. Hopefully not backhanding anybody anymore. And Kamala was out grocery shopping, even though she's not barely a real person. David W. says, let's go Brandon is less than Trump's quintessential LGBTQ in the House. So that's like a math equation there. One is less than the other. Tony Hay Munkett says, do you think the Trump picks for the head of the CIA is related to the guy on The Office who's also the star of the 40-year-old virgin? Steve Carell? Yeah, maybe. I don't know. Are they the same person? No, I think John Ratcliffe has had sex. Probably a lot. Hey, one old guy's opinion says, all these former Dems that Trump picked have had their Cheerios urinated in by the Democrats, and they want payback. Democrats are filled with urine. Knox says, I was worse than a Democrat, okay? I was a Green Party Code Pink Anonymous member, and I am here, kids, okay? So give Tulsi a chance. Yeah, right. So there you go, Knox, right? People evolve. I mean, like Rogan's evolved, Elon's evolved, Trump's evolved, right? Trump used to be a Democrat, kind of, right? At one point. So things grow, things mature, which is why I think it's good to give Tulsi the benefit of the doubt, even though there may be some questions about this, that, and the other thing. But we'll see how she does. And we know Democrats are going to lace into her. I'm less worried about the Democrats than I am the Republicans, to be honest, with Tulsi, Cash, and with RFK. Like, you don't need many Democrats with RFK to not get on board. They just say, oh, we don't like his jab policy. We love the jab. We got 35 in my neck right now, right? They get off of him, and then maybe some Republicans get off of RFK because of his abortion stance. You know, it can get squirrely pretty quickly. Same thing happening with Tulsi. Hey, what's going on? Queen Bee's Art Hive. Happy birthday to you, to Queen Bee's Art Hive. Happy birthday. It was yesterday. Beautiful day to have a birthday. Lovely Sunday. I hope you did something fun. Celebrated. Had 2 scoops of ice cream. Whatever it is you did, I hope it was amazing, Queen Bee's Art Hive. Thanks for celebrating with us, and happy birthday to you. We have this from Jackie Silly Me Carry On. Says 129 years ago, William McKinley was U.S. president. Oh, is that what it was in 1896? I was trying to do the math in my head. I'm like, no, it wasn't Lincoln, right? Because that's further. All right, so 1896 was McKinley in the House. Hey, it's Phil Hartman and Mike Johnson. You're right. I'm Mike Johnson. You might remember me from the spending bill where we gave tons of money to foreign countries. Oh, yeah, Mike Johnson. Yeah. Hey, what's up? Knox Bierman says, Jackson, my old boy, is 17 and has lived with the Big C for almost 2 years. Wow. And Knox is a connoisseur of helping the furry friends around our locals. We appreciate that. Says, a good diet for our pups is very helpful. I feed water buffalo with ground organs from Amos Miller Farms. Amos Miller, right? Jackson has outlived 4 other pups. Prayer for your Dobie boy. And try Amos Miller Farms. Knox sharing the link over there for our friend NY and his pup Coop. Stop the China Fraud Hustle. Says, whatever you're doing out there, please watch the China Hustle. So Google that puppy and you'll find it, courtesy of Stop the China Fraud Hustle. Yeah, man, he looks like a lot of people, doesn't he? Steve Carell and John Ratcliffe. Hopefully he doesn't run the CIA like they ran The Office. Or maybe it'd be better. I don't know. Dunder Mifflin, I think they were a pretty successful branch. So I don't know. It can't be any worse than what they're doing now. Da Hook says, did you see the latest James O'Keefe undercover sting? I have not. A white advisor Harvard tween talking about how the deep state is real and how they'll keep RFK out if he does get in, how they'll just sabotage and slow down anything he tries. Interesting. Yeah, interesting. On those videos, my question, I think, for all of them is like, does this guy know what he's talking about? Or is just some dude who's trying to talk big for his date? You know, whatever. Which I guess is O'Keefe, which is hilarious. Anyways, all right, so Da Hook. No, shout out to James O'Keefe and those guys for digging into that. I mean, yeah, they're going to try to stop all of these people. And I saw another post that was taken from the CIA manual on, obstruction, which is, you don't obstruct too much because then they'll identify you. It's like this. It's like kind of like quiet quitting. Okay, you just quiet obstruct in these federal agencies. And that's how they'll stop Trump. And they did a lot of that last time, but I think they're much smarter this go around. Colleen says, when it comes to Mike Johnson, I still can't get the face out of my mind when Kamala announced the vote. From Johnson, when he was sitting there, his little side-eye glance type of thing. Good to see you, Colleen. Very fun. Okay, so my friends, thank you so much for sending those in. Let me make sure I didn't miss anybody in the house. Really appreciative of those thoughts and comments. Now we are going to go over to watchingthewatchers.locals.com. We're going to debrief. We're going to hang out on Locals for a bit. We'd love to have you come join us. Of course, if you're a YouTube member, we'll be back tomorrow on our members only stream in the morning, YouTube and Locals friends. We'll see you in the morning. We all want to thank our amazing mods and meme smiths who mod down the fort for us and keep things nice and orderly and on track here. K-Bean in the house, Donut Mind Me, Carrie B, Playing Hooky, Dog Digger, and Janak modding the fort down for us, keeping things oh so nice and beautiful. Let me say hello to our friends on X real quickly before we hop off on the day. Sometimes I forget to do that. It's not very nice of me to do that. But let's see who's here. Hey, what's up? Fred Pedamonte says, DEF CON 5 is the best, Rob. DEF CON 5 is the best. That means we get some serious stuff done. Hey, Minnie Tika says, let's get Rob to 65 subs over on Rumble. That's very nice of you. Thank you for that, Minnie Tika. Yeah, we'd like you to watch on Rumble as well. My World says, why did Trump sound funny today? Did you think he sounded funny? I don't know. Sometimes it's the audio or the mic. I didn't really think that. Michael says, look at the note on this video. I know, it's so funny. YouTube is bizarre, man. How much screen real estate are they going to continue to give away to these little stupid little notes? Like, that's valuable real estate. That, like, from a user design perspective, it's horrible to see that on every video that I watch. Every video I watch has some stupid little note. You know, global warming's real. You know, the CDC said this. You know, January. It's like, shut up. Leave me alone. Gee, I just want to watch a video. And hopefully that stuff stops. But like, that's valuable real estate. They could put ads there. They could put more. You could actually have a better user experience there. But it's just dumb because like that's how much they want to propagandize you. Link you to Wikipedia like that helps you at all. We all know what January 6th is. That's why we're watching the video. Marianne says, I'm in tears listening to our president. People of the USA, just listen to this engaged gentleman. He loves this country and its citizens. Thanks be to God for Trump. Thank you, Mr. President. And thank you, Marianne Gonzalez, for saying that. Great comment. Okay, and so now, my friend, former Elio is asking, Rob, how's Mama doing with the knee surgery? We talked a little bit about this morning. Mama G had some knee surgery today, and she is out of surgery. I've not talked to her yet, but she's out. Everything went well. So she's healing up. They're going to keep her overnight as per protocol. But knee's good, and she should be back up and tap dancing and doing the Irish jig in no time, in a minute. Any minute now. So thanks for asking about that. Makes me nervous when Mom goes in, another knife. So she made it. She's good. Thanks for asking about it. Earlier today, she was still under the anesthesia. So I'll talk to her tonight, no doubt. Hey, thanks for asking, former. Deluxe Knight says, has anyone heard if Trump's executive order ordered the pile line back into production that Biden shut down the day he started his term? The pile line, or do you mean the oil line maybe? I don't know about that specifically, but there were a bunch of executive orders to unleash American energy and American independence and all that type of stuff. But I don't know specifically, like, are you talking about, what was the one? I can't think of the one. It's at the tip of my tongue that went to Canada. It'll come to me. I don't remember that name coming back up. So I don't know if he can just, with the flip of a pen, turn that back on. I think it was a building type of conversation, but great question, Deluxe Knight. I know he talked about ANWR. He talked about Alaska today. So there may be more coming. And let me see. Did anybody drop the name of that pipeline? What's the one to Canada? Keystone. Keystone. Thank you, Ricky. Yeah, Keystone Pipeline, right? There it is. Keystone XL, Jeremiah. Thank you, guys. That's the one. Yeah, Deluxe Knight. Yeah, sorry, Pipeline. Anybody see any executive orders on that? I don't think I've seen that. Keystone XL Pipeline. Yeah, here, let's just do a quick. I'm not sure if he has. And like, I think it's a little bit more complicated than just turning it on and off. Joe Biden turned it off. Yeah, here it is. He did. So he rescinded it. So on January 20th, Trump rescinded Biden's executive order. Okay, so here's this story. Trump's team to resuscitate the dead oil project. Trump is looking to revive Keystone XL on his first day. Trump believes declaring the crude project back on the table would drive a pro-oil message. It's on the list of things to do. The pipelines, but this, I think, this was before the inauguration, so I can't verify that that actually happened or not. But he's talking about it. He's thinking about it. Transition people didn't respond to it. So I retract that. I was sharing this with you. Don't actually know if he did that or not. Don't actually know if he changed this or not. But it was on the plan. I think it's kind of harder to just turn it back on or not. Justin Trudeau resigned? Oh man, there's so much news happening. Amazing. Okay, so we're going over to locals, my friends. Watchingthewatchers.locals.com. Membos will be back tomorrow to get into it again. It's going to be at the normal time for our early morning show. Not that early. 9 a.m. Arizona, 11 a.m. Eastern. And then, of course, we're going to come back in the afternoon to get into it again. Uncle Bozy says, after watching the Vance interview, I realized that journalists don't interview anymore. They just argue. They should call them arguments instead of interviews. That woman reminded me of dealing with an ex-girlfriend. Ugh. Margaret? Yeah, good thing she's an ex. You're much better off for it. And she can go argue with everyone else. All right. Thank you for that, Uncle Bozy. We're going to see you over on Locals, my friends. It has been a beautiful stream. Thank you so much for subscribing to our channel if you haven't already done so. And thanks for inviting everybody you've ever met in your entire life to come over here tomorrow and to join us on the live stream. It's going to be a ton of fun. It's better when we do it together. And it's been a great stream. It's going to be a busy week. I cannot wait to get into it with you. And so we are going to leave it there, my friends. We're going to head on over to watchingthewatchers.locals.com. But tomorrow, we're going to be back here to get into it again. And in order to do it appropriately and properly, we're going to need to see you right back here so that together, with your help, we can shine that big, beautiful spotlight of accountability and transparency down upon our system with the hope of finding justice. Make it a beautiful night, my friends. Sleep very well. I'll see you right back here tomorrow. Bye-bye.